Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the ABC podcast. My name is Alex and I am joined by Brandon Pina Park.
What?
That's the name of one of the levels in Super Mario Sunshine. Look, man, I was desperate. I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot about the nickname until we sat down to record.
Really?
So I had to come up with something on the spot.
That's somewhat impressive. I'll give you that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, I'll come up with a better one next week. Okay? Anyway, so that was a rough start.
Tough crowd.
Yeah. So, Brandon, how are you?
How am I?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
A little tired. Finals are coming up, so I'm trying to get ready for that. But aside from that, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I got a haircut.
You did. I like it.
This is my final form, you might say.
You know, it's funny because, right here, it kind of looks like Frieza's purple
Oh,
part.
yeah.
So I can kind of see it now.
Yep.
Can you do the voice like Frieza?
Oh, no. No, I'm not a woman.
In the original English version, yeah, it was a woman.
Yeah.
The newer iterations, they have a guy do it.
Oh,
now.
really?
Yeah.
Like in the movies?
Yeah.
Or in Resurrection
Yeah.
F? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really know.
But no, you're right. Like in the original dub,
Yeah.
for English, oh god, that was so.
I mean, it made sense.
I mean, yeah, but for the longest time, I thought Frieza was a woman.
Oh.
So then when I realized that Frieza was a guy, I kind of
Your mind is blown.
little bit.
That makes sense. So, yeah. What else has been happening? Not much, really. It's a nice, warm May day.
Yeah.
A little bit too warm for my liking.
Which is weird because the other day it was really
cold.
cold.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was so cold I wore a cardigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
You own a cardigan?
I have 4 or 5. I like cardigans.
You're classy.
I try. It makes up for all the other times I dress up really bum-like.
No, fair enough.
Because some days I just like dressing up in really baggy basketball shorts and a shirt. And I don't feel like, impressing anybody.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And then some days I feel like dressing like how I do today.
Yeah. Like Vision. I feel like this is something Vision would wear.
Oh, yeah. I don't have the sweater, though.
Yeah. Okay.
You remember when we were talking on... Sorry, but...
That's fine.
When we did that really big episode...
Yeah,
we talked about Vision, and then we said how he was dressed like Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
And then how he would just walk through the walls of the Avengers building, hey diddly, howdy ho neighbor, So imagine if he talked like that, but he was fighting Ultron. Hey there, Ultrarino.
I'm sure somebody somewhere has done that YouTube parody.
Probably.
Okay, well, anyway, we've got something in store for you all. It's probably going to be a bit on the shorter end, but the most common feedback I get about this podcast is that it's too long, so that's probably fine.
But that's never stopped you before.
Very true, because I don't really care what anybody else says. So yeah, I don't. Oh man, this is not going great. All right, we don't have any unboxing this week, so that means we're gonna jump feet first with the ABCs of Geekdom segment, and it is Brandon's turn to pick.
So this week we have the letter O, and I have decided to talk about the Oregon Trail.
Okay.
Do you know that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you go ahead.
So the Oregon Trail is a computer game that was developed in 1971, and it was a game designed to teach school children about the realities of 19th century pioneer life on the Oregon Trail. Mm-hmm. So whenever westward expansion was going on in America,
Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, the white man. It was the expansion of, American pioneers to go into expansion, into the frontier. And so in 1971, a teacher said, hey, let's make a game to teach the kids about how life was like on the Oregon Trail. So when you...
Can I pause you real quick? Why are you saying it like that?
Oregon Trail?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I mean, when you say... What's the capital of... Well, no. What state is the city of Portland in?
I don't know. Oregon?
Okay. All right. Whatever.
Do you want me to say Oregon?
I mean, that's how pretty much everybody else says it. I mean, you do you.
Okay,
I just wanted to point out.
Fine. I didn't realize my diction was like... Anyways. So when you play the game, you assume the role of a wagon leader, guiding your party of settlers from Independence, Missouri to Oregon. Basically Oregon. And yeah, so... This game is... It's become really popular in recent years.
Yeah.
A lot of walkthroughs and a lot of YouTubers who are gamers, they will play this game, and just it's the funniest thing because this game is ridiculously difficult and random.
Yeah.
And there are moments where whenever you're on the trail leaving from your original starting point, there are different ways where you can kind of start and like have settings for your party. And then as time progresses, they're trying to reflect how, like, you know, things in real life would happen during people who would go on this journey.
Right.
It'll just happen all of a sudden at random intervals of time for you in the game. So say you are, you know, maybe a couple of minutes into the game and all of a sudden one of your party members has dysentery. And then, you know, you keep going a little bit. Then somebody's broken an arm. And then you have to ford a river, and then you have a bunch of options. And if you don't make the right option, something bad's going to happen. And more often than not, the pop-ups that come up in this game will tell you when something bad has happened.
Right.
And it's not uncommon for most of your party to die. And then there's this one YouTuber I watch. His name is Critical. He's played this game like 4 times, and each video like progressively gets longer and longer. So the first one was about like 8 minutes. Second one was about like 10 minutes. Third one was about 20 something minutes. And just like the worst things happens to him in the game. So that's basically the premise of Oregon Trail. What do you know about? Do you have anything to say about it?
So yeah, I mean, this is like a super famous game. But unfortunately, I've actually never played it.
It's okay. I've never played it too.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things that like it's so famous that I feel like I should play it, but it's like I don't know how to get my hands on it, you know, because like I don't know where I could get a computer that would be old enough to be able to play it, and then to actually like find out how to, you know, download it on that computer or get a copy or whatever. Like I just don't have those resources, so unfortunately, it's one of those blind spots in my gaming history that I've felt that I should remedy at some point. I just don't really have the motivation. Plus, I mean, like, it's not really... It's regarded as a... It's famous. It's more infamous than famous.
I feel like it's more like a cult classic.
Yeah, it's kind of, like, good for making jokes about, not really because it's fun. Like, you know, you can say that about a lot of edutainment games, really, that, like, well... I remember this game because, you know, I played it when I was growing up, learning about, you know, the Oregon Trail or typing or math or whatever. You know, if you played Mavis Beacon typing when you were a kid, or Master Blasters, or what was called? Yeah, Master Blaster. I think that's what it was. Something like that. Anyway, you know, those kinds of things. Like, they're not really good games per se, but you have fond memories of them just because you played them when you were a kid and they were a fun way to learn. So yeah, never played it. Kind of want to, just to say I have, not really, because I have a real interest in it.
Well, I get that. I feel like I should play it at least one time in my life. There's actually a spin-off of this game. Not a spin-off. A parody of this game. It's called Oregon Trail. Like Organ.
Yeah.
And you're playing as... you play through the zombie apocalypse, essentially. So your party goes through different cities, and you're trying to go from one city to this military camp for refuge. And it follows the same format as the Oregon Trail. It's just, you know, now with zombies. And it's funny because now, like, they add on, if one of your party members gets infected, over time they'll grow like more into a zombie.
Right.
And eventually you have to kill your party member.
Dang.
Yeah, these games are really morbid now, you know, the more I think about it. But it's like really dark humor. So I feel bad for laughing, but sometimes I don't. how do you think you would fare on the real life Oregon Trail? Do you think you would survive, or do you think you would die on the way?
Like, okay, is this if I was born in the 1800s or if I was sucked into a time portal and transported back then? So me now going back.
Let's say you getting sucked into a time portal.
Probably not, just because, like, you know, the human immune system doesn't really compensate for the diseases that they had back then anymore. I don't think. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so that's just my understanding. I could be wrong. But there's also the whole thing about, like, you know, dietary needs and just general comfort sounds lower than I'm used to being a 21st century modern day kind of guy. You know, I wouldn't have my phone or my 3DS or my Switch. So that would be pretty lame.
I felt like you would like probably carve it into a piece of wood and just use your imagination to try and play with it.
But I also have, you know, being in Boy Scouts all those years and, you know, doing the Camino, you know, I have like wilderness experience, so it's not like it's completely foreign to me. So I don't know. I feel like I'd have a decent shot, but like you were saying in the game, like there's these elements that you just can't control. So there's only so much that you as a person can do to influence your success in that endeavor. What about you?
I feel like I would probably die on the first day just because of my luck. Terrible luck.
Bad luck, Brandon.
So I feel like, just like on our way, just the first day we're leaving from the town, I'd probably fall off the wagon and get crushed by the oxen, or, you know, a thunderstorm would happen and I get struck by lightning, or a snake would bite me, or if we were fording a river, I'd somehow fall off and get swept away. So no, I don't think I would make it to Oregon.
Actually, you know, now that I think about it, you do have bad luck traveling because you had that car accident a couple months ago, and then your friend's car broke down a few weeks ago. So I mean, the car is basically a modern day wagon.
And then I told you what happened over Armando, right? It wasn't. I don't even know if that counts, but I mean, it kind of counts.
No,
because it's not. It wasn't a trip, but still, like something happened to the car.
That definitely counts.
Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, that's all I obviously have to say about Oregon Trail.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
that was short and sweet.
I think we had a lot to talk about, all things considered.
Whoa, yeah, considering that neither of us have played it.
Yeah, but it's still super funny.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess oh my gosh. I guess that means it's time for corrections. You know what I was thinking about earlier when I was driving over here?
What's up?
Well, I mean, we're not going to do this, so don't get your hopes up, but I think it would be fun if we had like a little musical jingle every time we switched segments.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah. But I don't have that kind of skill, and I'm not going to pay somebody to make up a jingle for me.
You can find it online. It's like royalty-free music.
I guess. Nah.
Or, now hear me out, you could use like the air horns that they use in the songs. Like, okay, time for the Fan Fic Fights.
All right. First correction here is that from Robin's apartment to Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York, whatever that address is, according to Google Maps, 1,631 miles. So.
Oh, that's easy. I drive like in a day.
So that's like half as much as I said last week. I said it was like 3,000 miles away. Okay, so a little bit closer, but still pretty far from the nest, as they say. Okay, next thing is we unboxed the Star Wars Rebels Smuggler's Bounty box last week, and the pin was of Zeb, who is a member of the crew of the Ghost. And I said that his name was Garrus before Brandon corrected me. And then I was like, oh, wait, Garrus, that is a character, just not this person I'm thinking of. And I said it was from Mass Effect, and turns out that I was right.
Nice.
Yeah. So, The only reason I can think of why had that in my head is that I listened to this other podcast. Well, I listened to a bunch of other podcasts. One of the other podcasts I listened to is called the Game Informer Show, which is the podcast of the magazine Game Informer, which is a gaming-based magazine, but they put out a podcast every week. It's super funny. I really recommend it. Anyway, they do a segment called the Game Club, which is sort of like our movie watching thing that we don't have a title for. Where they announce a game and they say, okay, we're going to come back in X number of weeks to talk about this part of the game. And the most recent one they did was for Mass Effect Andromeda, which was a new game in the Mass Effect series. So naturally, they were drawing comparisons from that game to the original trilogy. And so Garrus, who was a member of Commander Shepard's crew in that game, came up several times. That's the only reason I can think of why I thought that.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Did I get his name though? It's Garrus, right?
I actually didn't look that up.
Didn't look that up?
I just trusted your knowledge.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's Garrus. I got his last name right. I know that much.
Okay. All right. Well, while Brandon looks that up, I'll keep going along here. So also in that box, we got a mini Hikari of Chopper, who is their astromech droid on the Ghost. And I was talking about how the other Hikari we got was of Darth Vader, but I couldn't remember which box it was in. So that was the Rogue One box.
Okay.
That's right.
That's right.
So if, now that I think about it, I don't think I mentioned this at the time, but they definitely showed that Darth Vader was in the movie in one of the trailers. But if you're one of those people who like avoids trailers, try and avoid spoilers, just go into a movie as fresh as possible, then that would, but you subscribe to this box, you're such a big Star Wars fan, that would spoil the fact that Darth Vader was in the movie, which I feel like is kind of uncool. But, I mean, what are you going to do?
True. Also, his name is Garrus,
okay.
So I got that right. Yay.
Good job. I'm so proud of you. Okay, next thing is
we talked about a little more effort into the sarcasm.
Brandon, I am so proud of you. So anyway, we talked about Naboo for our ABCs of Geekdom segment last week. So a few corrections there. First one is that I said that there was like an official statistic about how much of Naboo is covered in water. But I guess I was mistaken because I couldn't find anything anywhere that said it. I did find a couple of sources. I didn't read them. Just like, when I was Googling this information, I saw a couple of things talking about how Naboo has a core made out of water. And just like the headlines of those articles said that would be impossible in real life. So that was interesting. But that's all I got. Which, you never took astronomy, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So, like, obviously the Earth has a molten core. But there are also gaseous planets, which are, to my knowledge, completely made out of gas. Like, there's nothing solid on the bottom, right? Like, you could just go straight through them.
I don't know if that works because you're right, but then the gas is so dense in order to make
right.
Think of a planet.
I guess.
But
is there anything solid? Like, is Jupiter solid at all?
Within the planet?
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. I don't know.
But
then, like, how does it, like, stay together? Like, why doesn't it just, well, other than the fact that there's no air in space?
I would assume probably what has to do with the gases, creating its own, like, atmosphere and also gravitational pulls and whatnot. You might want to look that up.
Yeah.
Actually. Like a real educational question in the show.
I'll have to contact somebody. Like, we'll get Neil deGrasse Tyson to guest on the podcast so he can explain it to us.
He corrects everything we've ever said on the show. Is that even his podcast itself is a mistake against science.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Don't say that. My name's attached to this thing.
Well. Do you put this on your resume?
Do I put this on my resume?
Yeah, I have this on my resume.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Huh. I could probably maybe put this on my portfolio.
I don't have a portfolio, so. Yeah, because I mean, I view it as, we've been doing this for a long time, so we're committed to it. Like, comes out every week, and, I'm not trying to blame you or anything, but like on my end, you know, I do all the research, I pick the topics, I do the editing, and I do the promotion on social media whenever I feel like it, which is not very often. So, you know, like for me, there is, you know, a fair amount of work involved. So I feel like it's something that I can, you know, say that it's one of my... I don't see anything wrong with that. Anyway, I don't know why I felt like bringing that up.
It makes me feel a bit more guilty about my participation in this project.
No, it's fine. I love doing all that stuff. Well, not the editing. The editing is tedious, but the rest of it I love.
Which is funny because I love editing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, but I just don't know how to use this.
It's very straightforward. Anyway, next correction here.
This could have potentially led up to like the breakup of the ABC podcast.
Not today. So anyway, while we were talking about Naboo, we talked about Jar Jar Binks and all of his various misfortunes. And one of the things that we talked about was in the game The Force Unleashed, how it appeared that he was frozen in carbonite. Excuse me.
Sorry, we just ate Mexican food.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, when I was driving over here, I was so tempted to stop and get a big horchata.
Me too. Well, not the same way, but I was like thinking about when's the last time I had a horchata?
Oh man, it's so good.
So good. You remember that day I was drinking that giant horchata?
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Okay, we really need to stop getting off topic here. Anyway, so the name of the Imperial officer who's stationed on Kashyyyk at that time was named Captain Ozzik Stern, and his name is spelled OZZIKSTURN. Okay, next thing is we're talking about the capital of the Gungans. So the city that we see in the Phantom Menace is called Oto Gunga. And I got conflicting reports as to whether or not that is the capital of Gungan society. My understanding is that it is, but it was mentioned or referenced in a few pages on Wikipedia, and like some of them mentioned that it was the capital and then others didn't, but it didn't mention that there was another capital, so I was a little confused. We'll just assume that it's the capital, but I'm not really sure, or I can't say that with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
But I don't see why it wouldn't be, because I mean Boss Nass lived there. Then again, we never find out that he's like, you know, the leader of the entire Gungan people. He could have just been like, you know, the equivalent of a mayor of Oto Gunga. But anyway. Next thing is we were talking about Westworld, because I was talking about how that was based on a movie. So the movie was released in 1974.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little bit more recent than I believed last week. Then we went on to talk about the Wonder Twins a bit. So
that was such a great flashback.
Yeah.
So good.
So first thing is that their names are, so the boy twins' name is Zan and the girl's name is Jaina. So they actually don't both start with Z, like I said last week. They first appeared, not in the comic books, they actually first appeared in Super Friends, season 2, I believe. Like, Super Friends, basically, for those who don't know, is kind of like, it was a cartoon that was like a predecessor to the Justice League. It featured most of the core members of the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman for sure, and I know there are a few others who made appearances. The Justice League had definitely, the Justice Society and the Justice League had both definitely appeared in the comics before then, but the Super Friends was like a more, well, I guess the comics were kind of, I don't know, more clean than they are now. Not that they're dirty, but they're more, you know, gritty and dark and all that kind of thing.
More campy.
There you go. Campy, that's a good word. So anyway, there were several seasons of Super Friends, and like kind of each season had a slightly different name. Like it was like the Legend of the Super Friends or the Super Friend Adventures or some crap like that. I don't really remember. So there was in the first season, I remember this. There were these two kids, like regular teenagers who didn't have superpowers, and a dog. And so there's a boy and a girl. The boy was voiced by the same guy who voices Shaggy or at least in the original Scooby-Doo cartoons. And the dog could talk, similar to Scooby-Doo, so that was an interesting choice. Anyway, and then the kids, they phased out because they were kind of boring because they didn't have superpowers, and then they replaced them with the Wonder Twins, who then, of course, were mocked for their very bizarre superpowers. So anyway, that was in 1977. I forget if I said that, but that was when they first appeared. Their origin story is that they were from the planet Exor, and they kind of just showed up on Earth, really. Later on, they would reboot it that Exor was taken over by this tyrant, and they were refugees. They escaped from him and came to Earth, and just kind of chilled here. But in the original, like, they kind of just showed up, I think. Their monkey friend, his name is Gleek. Gleek. People who are fans or were fans of the TV show Glee refer to themselves as Gleeks, which is a combination of both Glee, the name of the show, and geek. My sister was a self-professed Gleek for a long time.
Oh, really?
That's the only reason I know that. Yeah, she was super duper into it. And then I think she said when the main cast graduated and they like split their time between high school and following the original people like through their college adventures or whatever, that's when it got bad and she stopped watching it. And then the dude died and she got all depressed about it.
Sheesh.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people did. Oh, another thing that I was reading about is, so we were talking about how she turns into animals, he turns into form of water, and how if they were going somewhere, she would transform into something that could fly, and he would turn into water, and the monkey would carry the bucket. So fans have joked that Gleek also has a superpower, which is to conjure a bucket out of thin air in order for...
Like, yeah, I know what you mean. He does hammer space. Do you know that term?
No, I don't think
it's
so.
It's essentially the same thing you were talking about. So if you ever notice sometimes in cartoons or comics, characters will pull something out of thin air. My brother told me this, that it's referred to as hammer space. You're just pulling something out of... I don't know why it's called that, but it's just like, if you need to pull something out of thin air, you just pull out of hammer space. Like, it makes no logical explanation. So I was watching... I don't even know why I was doing this. But 2 nights ago, I was just watching SpongeBob. And I was just watching the episode of when... they had to paint something for Mr. Krabs, and had to be very careful because the paint was permanent. And so SpongeBob was opening, he was being really careful opening this paint can, and Patrick's like, oh, now it's my turn. And he just pulls out this battle axe and he starts like whamming on the paint can. And it's like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, I just thought I would bring that up. So then I was talking about how they rebooted the twins and kind of gave them like more enhanced powers, like the same concept, just more broadly defined, I guess. So the first time that was shown off was in a comic book series called Extreme Justice, and the name itself kind of shows that it's more, edgy than the very child-friendly Super Friends.
Because it was extreme?
Yeah.
Extreme.
So Zan could transform into, like, they give examples that he could transform into an ice golem, instead of just a form of ice. Like in the original cartoon, like a few times he transformed into an ice cage. So it would literally be like a cage with ice, and like on one of the bars would be his face, and he could still talk and stuff.
Sorry.
So I mean, like, if you can say like he can transform into ice in the specific shape of something, then why not this sentient ice monster? Like, why not? But he could also turn into like forms of weather. So like he could turn into a blizzard or a hurricane or a tidal wave, stuff like that. Stuff that he didn't do in the original cartoon. In Justice League Unlimited, they also debuted 2 characters who are very similar to the Wonder Twins.
I know, yeah.
They were clones produced by Project Cadmus, and they were named Downpour and Shifter. So again, like not specifically the Wonder Twins, but basically the Wonder Twins.
Yeah. Justice League and Justice League Limited did a lot of that.
Yeah. And then also in the comic books, this might have been in the Super Friends cartoon, but when they're like alter egos, they would say that they were Swedish. in order to, which they use as an excuse for why they have such strange names. And so
that's kind of smart. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
that's pretty smart.
And so they would wear blonde wigs in order to cover up, because they have weird purple hair.
Yeah.
So they wear blonde wigs to sell their Scandinavian descent. But here's the interesting thing, is that she would use her power to transform into a human, because they also have pointy elf-like ears. So she would transform, so she would change her hair to blonde and then have regular ears. And then he would just wear a wig. But we know that when they transform, that he's supposed to have to transform too, but he doesn't, because, humans aren't water-based. I mean, there's a little, like 70% water, or like 80% or something like that. But, if he transformed into a water human, like, what would that be? You know what I'm saying? So, like, it in this description that I read on Wikipedia, it sounds like she would transform, but he wouldn't, which kind of breaks the rules that they had established, which I found interesting. So anyway, that was a lot of talk about the Wonder Twins. All right.
Yeah, that went on longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I don't regret it. I just was not expecting that.
Yeah, well, because they're such a, they're not very well-known characters.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know too much about them. Like, I'm familiar with them, but I don't know the extent of their powers and the whole, thing about them being Swedish or pretending to be Swedish. Like, I didn't know any of that, so kind of had to do some digging and found some interesting stuff that I thought we should talk about. Anyway, next thing is I was talking about Iron Fist, and I gave a minor spoiler. Actually, it was a minor spoiler for John Wick. But anyway, I was talking... No. I talked about that too, but I also talked about how there were characters with the last name Meacham, because there's also a character in House of Cards with the last name Meacham. Anyway, the first name of the guy who was partners with Danny's father was Harold Meacham. Okay, next thing is we talked about Jurassic Park a little bit, because Jeff Goldblum is going to be in Jurassic World 2. So the guy who built Jurassic Park is John Hammond.
That's right.
Yeah. Then moving on, we talked about Prometheus a little bit, because we watched that Alien Covenant prequel film. Main character in Prometheus was named Elizabeth Shaw. So you were right, I was wrong. It happens every once in a while. Then we talked about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite a little bit, and I talked about the story mode for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I was talking about how Galactus is the final boss in the arcade mode, and how you have to fight 2 of his heralds before you get to him. So he has 4 heralds, like I said last week. So I mentioned Doctor Doom and Wesker. And then in addition, there's Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, and Akuma, who is an antagonist from the Street Fighter series. So you could say that Dormammu bargained with Galactus to obtain the power cosmic.
Sure, yeah, we can say that.
Yeah. Okay, next, also back on Marvel vs. Capcom 3, is that when you beat Galactus, each character has a unique ending sequence. So I think I said that there wasn't anything after you beat the game, but there's a little tiny something. So that's cool, I guess. Then also, when we talked about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the gameplay trailer, we didn't mention anything about the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, you're right. Even though last time we talked about it was...
Yeah.
That was like the big part of it.
Right. So they did show off the Infinity Stones a little bit. The only one that I can remember them showing off really prominently was the Space Stone. Basically, so actually let me back up a little bit. The Infinity Stones in this game are they calling them, I think, yeah, they're probably calling them stones because it's based off the MCU, right?
I actually don't remember about that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not important. So they show... okay, now I'm getting confused what we're talking about. The Infinity Stones are taking place of the assists in this game. In previous games, you could have your main character out, and then you could call one of your teammates to perform an attack that would help extend combos, or sometimes break a combo, or just do a little bit of chip damage to your opponent. In this game, you don't get to call assists, but you can use the Infinity Stones to help you essentially do the same thing. So in this gameplay trailer that we saw, the only one that they really featured prominently was the Space Stone, I believe. And basically it trapped the opponent in this little box so that they couldn't get out, and you could, get at them more easily. In fighting games, well, in most fighting games, a really important thing is your spacing. And, let me back up. Or let me clarify. Spacing is always important in every fighting game, but in most fighting games, having coordinate control is really important, because when they don't have anywhere to go, you can do combos more easily. So a lot of combos, especially Marvel vs. Capcom 3, focus on carrying your opponent to the corner, and then just beating them up against a wall so that they don't have anywhere to go. And you can have infinite combo loops by doing that. So that's what the Space Stone does. You don't have to get them to a corner. You just kind of bring the corner to them. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm still not sold on the whole Infinity Stones versus assists thing, because I don't know if, you only get one use of the stone per game, or if, it has to take time to recharge, or how that's going to work. So I don't know. I just like the assist mechanic. Like, it was such an integral part of the game,
because you brought your teammates to help you out,
right?
So.
And Pokemon Tournament kind of did the same thing. Like, you pick an assist Pokemon at the beginning of the round, and then you call on them in the middle of the match. So other games have harped on that idea, but I don't know. Next correction. So these are all from our discussion about Alien vs. Predator. So Waylon's assistant in the movie, the guy who meets the chick up on top of the iceberg, his name is Maxwell Stafford.
Okay.
The guy that we were calling...
That's funny, he got killed by the staff too.
Oh, yeah.
How ironic.
The guy that we were calling Luigi last week, his name is Sebastian.
It was so awful. My goodness.
Sebastian De Rosa.
Was he even Italian? That does not sound Italian. Was he Italian?
In the movie, he definitely says something about as a little boy growing up in Italy. I don't know if the actor is Italian or what, but he definitely says something about Italy. Okay. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is of Italian heritage. Like, he could have moved there, but I mean, I guess I can look that up for next week.
Just watch that one scene.
Well, no, I'd probably have to dig into it more than that.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, then the actor who played Wayland in the movie, his name is Lance Henriksen.
Okay.
And then finally, we were saying that the main character's name was Alexis, but it's actually Alexa.
Alexa.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you have an Amazon Echo out there, I apologize for activating your device.
I think Jasmine has one.
Does she?
I think so.
You'd think I would know that since I'm over at their apartment all the time, but I actually don't know.
So watch Kenzie, she's playing this out loud, and then all the times we said Alexis, Jasmine's like, "What's going on?"
That would actually be really hilarious.
Yeah.
You know how the Kinect has certain voice controls that you can do?
Yeah.
So this one guy that I watch on YouTube, he's telling the story about how he was playing in this match of probably Halo or maybe Call of Duty or whatever. But his username was Xbox Turn Off. And so he would do something to his opponent, and then the guy would stop it, Xbox Turn Off. And then they would be like, oh no, because the Xbox would try to turn off. But it asks you if you want to do that action before it actually does it, so you can cancel it. But it's still funny. Okay, final correction for this week is that at the end of the episode, I said thank you for watching this episode of the ABC podcast. Of course, we do have a video version on YouTube, which you are free to check out. However, there's no video of us.
There's no
Yeah,
actual
it's
footage.
it's just a meme that I make and throw up there. Just have a placeholder image.
Also, I don't know how I felt about the one last week.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it.
Look,
it wasn't bad.
I'm not a creative person. I never said that I was. So, come at me, bro. Okay, well, I know this has been going for a really short time, but we actually don't have a lot of news to talk about this week, so there's not really any point in dragging this out anymore. So we're just going to take our break here. Hopefully you enjoy this shorter first part of the show, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, we are back, and for the first time in a while, we don't have too many trailers to talk about.
Yeah.
So, first thing we watched was the trailer for Dunkirk. Now, as we talked about when we watched the first trailer, I love Christopher Nolan. Like, every Christopher Nolan movie that I've seen has been, like, really fantastic. But I'm still... I don't know, this just seems so mundane for him, and I don't mean that in, like, a disrespectful way. Yeah. Just, like, World War II movies have been so done that I don't know what he's going for. Like, every other movie that he's done has either been sci-fi, which is cool. I mean, the Batman movies aren't really sci-fi, but they're... there's, the Batman gadgets and everything. It's a comic book movie, which is closer to sci-fi than anything else. Inception is amazing. Interstellar is both sci-fi and, plays with time and all that. Memento is this really weird storytelling gimmick that works really super well. Am I missing any movies that he's done? Yeah. Anyway, so... this just seems like such a straightforward plot to me. It looks beautiful. The acting seems like it's all really good. And, I'm not a history buff, so I can't say this for sure. Like, because I don't remember it saying, like, based off of a true story, about this whole, the Navy, calling on civilian boats to help rescue stranded sailors or whatever. If that is a true story, then I've never heard of that before, so this might be the first time that this story has been put into film, but still, it's like, I don't know, I guess...
I think you just answered your own question.
I don't know. Like I said, like, all the shots seem really amazing, but he's such a great director that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, we'll see. It definitely looked interesting. I don't know if I'll be able to see it in film, in theaters, because just so many movies are coming out in the next couple of months. Yeah, and it's just I'm going to have to do a lot of movie hopping. I would say that much.
True, because
I can't afford to buy all those tickets at once.
Yeah,
but it looked really interesting. I really want to. I actually genuinely want to see it, just because. I think you're right, because when we first saw this trailer, I looked it up, and I didn't read too much into it, but Dunkirk was an event that happened in the English branch of the war. Yeah. So, I don't know anything about it. So, like you said, this might give us a chance to learn more about a side of World War II that we don't really know too much about. Because everybody knows D-Day. Everybody knows the atomic bombs being dropped.
Pearl Harbor,
right? Iwo Jima. This is a new face to it.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and then we watched the trailer for The Dark Tower. Now, I've heard about this movie for like a really long time.
Me
like
too.
I feel like I've been, hearing like, it's in production or they're writing out the script or whatever. I just feel like I've been hearing about it for a long time, but I never really cared to look into it or really want to talk about it in podcasts, certainly, just because I didn't really know what it was about too much. I do, before watching this trailer, I did know that it was based off of a series of novels by Stephen King, which is already, a good starting point for me. I like The Mist, we talked about last week. The Shining's a great movie. I haven't seen it, but a lot of people like it. Christine, Cujo. Those are the main ones I can think of. Main ones I can think of. What did I say? Mains one. Man,
are you okay? Like,
I don't know.
What's going on?
That's a great question.
You want to take a break?
Nah. So anyway, this is much more sci-fi than horror. It seems like, or at least that's the direction they're taking.
A lot more action too.
Yeah. So basically, it's about this kid who's having these like visions of this dark tower and a gunslinger and a man in black.
Gunslinger is Idris Elba.
Yes.
Man in Black is Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
All right. And
then he finds this old abandoned house which has a portal to this other world dimension. It takes him somewhere else. And, well, no, he does say something about your world is destroyed. Well, I guess you could call a dimension a world too. Anyway, doesn't matter. He goes there, he finds Idris Elba, who is this gunslinger. Well, now, we don't know too much about the gunslingers, but they are very proficient with firearms. Or revolvers, at least. I don't think we really see him using any other guns.
They said they were like a type of knight that protected the realms.
Yeah. So he has all these fancy, gun tricks, and like he loads his guns in these really over the top, ridiculous ways.
But it's still really cool to watch.
Oh no, for sure.
I have to say, whenever he's like just kind of like I can't do it because there's no camera. But whenever people like in the club that have like dollar bills and they kind of just fling them out like that with like the one hand. He kind of does it with like his bullets. He's like kind of like. He puts the bullets in the revolver. Yeah, and then like before the actual trailer started, there was like a sequence clip. Yeah, and he basically like throws 2 bullets in the air, and then he catches one of each. And then like he cocks them. Yeah, he loads them up, and he's like bang bang. Yeah, it's very over the top and ridiculous, but it's not as like cheesy as Wanted, which is very kind of similar. I haven't seen Wanted. I have. I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah. So anyway, find out that the man in black is the bad guy. And he's trying to destroy the tower, the Dark Tower. And if the Dark Tower is destroyed, then something bad will happen. And then they all go to Earth and more bad things happen. That's basically what I got from the trailer. Me too. I'll watch this at some point. Probably not in theaters. Yeah. It definitely looks entertaining. I'll say that much. I'll probably have to read the book before watching the movie. Though. The thing is, though, I think there are 7 books. Yeah. So either they're gonna make more movies or they're gonna try and fit everything into the movie, which I really hope they're do. Definitely gonna make more. But then again, I it's Stephen King, so I don't think he's that reckless with his work that he would let them do that. But that's just like a guess. Yeah. But, who doesn't want to see Idris Elba cancel the apocalypse? Nobody. Exactly. Now, the audio on this computer wasn't super loud because the AC is super loud. So that's why. Sorry. But it's fine. But he was doing an American accent, right? It sounded like he was still doing his British accent. Really? See, I was kind of confused because sometimes it sounded kind of British, sometimes it's kind of American. I know for a fact he wasn't doing his Charles voice from The Office. That much I knew. Okay, fair enough.
But Matthew McConaughey was being
Matthew McConaughey.
And then I don't know this kid.
Yeah, it was just a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a pretty good trailer. And then after that, we watched the trailer for The Defenders, which was, I don't know, it made it look really good.
I know. I was telling Alex after I watched this video, I really want some Chinese food. So even though I haven't seen the other three, it still looks really entertaining. Yeah. I remember I was seeing because last night I went to see Guardians of the Galaxy, and then there was a preview for The Defenders.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Not a preview, like when the preview started.
Oh,
but they still showed the commercial.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was still though, like seeing it on the big screen was really cool because you saw how everybody was.
It was that same one.
Yeah. And you see how, just like the Avengers, they don't really like each other at first. Yeah. But it's funnier because in the Netflix series they aren't censored as much. Yeah. So they can kind of be even more mean about it. And it was cool seeing because I saw on Instagram somebody did a side-by-side comparison. So in the trailer for Luke Cage when that guy tries to punch Luke Cage in the face and his arm breaks. Yeah. And then they showed when in this trailer when Iron Fist he punches Luke Cage and actually causes a reaction to happen.
That's funny.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So we don't really know the plot of this first season too much, which is fine. Like I'm definitely gonna watch it. So not knowing as much about it I would prefer.
We know Sigourney Weaver is the antagonist.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Yeah. I didn't know she was going to be in it.
Me neither. Which was really strange. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with it because she's a great actress. Mm-hmm. I just was not expecting that.
Yeah, but I don't really know what else to say. I liked at the very beginning, Jessica Jones is being interrogated by Misty Knight, who is one of the main characters in Luke Cage, and then Matt Murdock walks in and he tells her to stop talking because he's her attorney. And then
avocado at law.
And then things go from there. But I thought it was funny because I'm pretty sure in both Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Claire, the nurse, tells them like, hey, if you need a lawyer, I know a really great defense attorney. And we all, laugh because we know what she's talking about, but she doesn't say him by name. And it's so coy. But now, like, it actually happens that he comes in. He's like, "I'm
your defense attorney."
Yeah. So that was.
Is that what you're gonna be? Huh?
That's not the plan.
You secretly the defender, Alex?
Maybe.
Oh, I see. You better not come to my room in the middle of the night, all bloodied up and everything. Like, Brandon, I need some ibuprofen.
I think I would go to a doctor or a nurse. Plus, you live on the 3rd floor and have to climb all the way up.
Do you know? I mean, where does Claire live in Daredevil? He's still able to get there.
Anything else to say about Daredevil? Claire was in it.
There was a shot of Elektra.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So she's definitely coming back.
Stick was back.
Stick, yeah.
Good old Stick.
Yeah. We didn't see Foggy from Daredevil. We didn't see Patty from Jessica Jones. We didn't see. Well, I guess there wasn't really anybody else in Luke Cage, really. I mean, Claire was the main other person, and we didn't see Davos from Iron Fist, but that's fine. There's already gonna be enough going on. We don't really need those sidekicks to come along. But do you remember? Did they say it? I'm sure they must have said a date. I don't remember what it was. Do you?
I actually didn't see one.
Dang it. Well, I'm really excited.
Me too.
Well, you got to watch the other.
Yeah, but it makes me excited because I love it when all these things come together.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like Avengers Light.
Yeah.
Except there's going to be even more of it because it's a Netflix show. So then the last trailer we watched was for the Injustice DLC.
I was asking Alex before we watched this. At this point, how many trailers has Injustice put out?
I mean, it's been a ton. Probably 2 or 3 a week for a few months now. Because, they announced it at E3.
Right.
And then we didn't hear anything about it for a long, long time. up until like maybe January, maybe February, and then like ever since then, like it's been a constant flow of character trailers or information or story trailers.
And I know people enjoy the trailers, so they're not doing anything wrong with their marketing. I was just kind of taken aback just by the marketing of this game.
Yeah, they've definitely been going hard. You can make pros and cons as to that approach, but at least it's been giving us stuff to talk about, which is
good.
So anyway, the game comes out not this next week, but the week after. But they've already announced the first 3 characters that are going to be released as downloadable content. So we have Starfire, the Red Hood, and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat.
Were you excited by these people?
Yeah, I definitely was. There's a trend in gaming with like day one DLC or on disc DLC that consumers are generally tired of, and I'm not going to be buying this game probably anytime soon, so it doesn't really matter to me. But I do think it's weird that they would announce these characters, be like, hey, the game's coming out, but not with these characters, so get ready for these whenever they do come out.
It's a big slap in the face.
Yeah.
Just because I don't like the way they've, really been doing DLCs lately. Yeah. And this is more, maybe it's a talk for another time about the gaming industry, because I knew maybe about 6 years ago, like the game would be out first, and then you could like anticipate the DLC.
Right.
But now it's game doesn't come out, it's about to come out, then you announce the DLC that's going to come out, and then you're like, hey, you want this, you gotta pay more money for it. Which instead of like, I mean, that's what you already did for DLC, you had to pay the money to get it, but now it's like you want to go into what I'm trying to say is like when you got the game was in its entirety in the DLC. Some games I know you get the game, but to access a certain level of the game you have to buy the DLC into it, so you don't get the game in its entirety.
Yeah. So, other than that, these characters are all really cool. Starfire, who is the princess of Tamaran, she has alien powers. Like she has super strength, flight. She can shoot beams out of her hands and eyes and stuff. And
she loves mustard.
Yes. So that's cool. I feel like they can do some interesting stuff with her. Although, I mean, they have characters with super strength. They have characters who can fly. The beam thing, not so much. But so she's not like a super unique character, but she's pretty unique, I guess. Red Hood is the one that I'm a little iffy about.
Why?
I mean, he's an awesome character. Just like he doesn't have any superpowers, so like, what is he gonna do that like Deadshot can't do?
True. But I feel like he's gonna be much more combat based and gadget based. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know because Deathstroke in the first one, he wasn't the only one that used guns.
Right.
He was like one of the more proficient ones. But he also had a sword too, so that like complemented some other things too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll have like similar things he could do like Deadshot, but he won't be the exact same like Deadshot. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
And then the third character is Sub-Zero, who is from the Mortal Kombat series. I think I said that already. In the first Injustice game, in the second batch, so they released 6 total DLC characters, 2 at a time. In the second batch, they released Scorpion, who is, of all of the Mortal Kombat characters, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are probably the best well-known. So, like I said last week, NetherRealm Studios is the developer for both Mortal Kombat and Injustice. And so they're bringing those characters, crossing them over with the DC Universe, which is super cool. I'm a big fan. The design of Scorpion in Injustice was pretty different from the traditional Scorpion that we've seen in the other Mortal Kombat games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I actually really liked it. It's one of my favorite Scorpion designs of, all of the designs over the 20 whatever years that he's been around. This Sub-Zero design is also very different from what we usually see of him. It's okay, but I don't love it as much as I love Scorpion.
What's the issue?
I don't know. It's just like very hooded and like you can't really see his face at all. Just like he has two glowing white eyes. And that works for Scorpion because he's a demon, like he's from hell, but Sub-Zero isn't, but he looks very demonic, so that's kind of weird, but whatever. But yeah, Sub-Zero is super cool. I know we have Captain Cold in Injustice 2, but Sub-Zero is way cooler than him, pun totally intended. So yeah. I think that's a strong first batch of DLC.
I think so too.
Now, when I was reading about this on Twitter, they confirmed, whatever website I was reading, they confirmed that they are going to be releasing 6 more characters in addition to these 3, so for a total of 9.
Okay.
Now, I know we talked quite a while ago that I think they had 12 DLC characters from Mortal Kombat XL. So I was hoping that they would have, like similar numbers. Or at least in the end have a similar total number of characters, because there was a very big variety of that game. But they really leaned heavily on guest characters for Mortal Kombat. Like they had one of the Xenomorphs, Predator, Jason from Friday the 13th, and Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. With DC, because it's such a broad, robust universe, that's not really necessary. Like, you can bring in a lot of characters like Aqualad. Or Tempest.
Actually, I would totally be fine with saying like Aqualad.
Yeah.
Wait, which kind of Aqualad? Calderon or...
What? Yeah, Calderon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got that good mix of magic and physical attacks, so that would be interesting.
Yeah. I would love to see Black Manta for real. I know we like, he's in the game, quote unquote, but he's like a transition character. I think he would make a really cool combat character though. Yeah,
because he's got like his punches and his laser blasts and like he's got like a harpoon gun, right?
He's got that. He's got knives.
Yeah.
He's actually a really good combatant.
Yeah.
Who else was saying?
Condiment King.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine that? I'm sorry. Actually, I'd be totally cool with that now. But I'm totally fine with Condiment King.
Yeah. Or Wonder Twins.
Raish, he'd be fine. Alfred, I think you'd be great if you could play as Alfred. Like, think about it. You could throw crumpets and teacups at people for a long range attack. When he's up close, you could like get a hot towel and like slap them in the face with it. Who else is there? You could get guest Green Lanterns. They did that with Green Lantern. You could play as Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
but you could do like even more of that.
Yeah, or like, because we have
Atrocitus.
There you go. Oh my gosh, I don't know what is wrong with you today. Yeah, we have Atrocitus, so you could get like a Blue Lantern or
like
a White Lantern or a Black Lantern.
Crap, what's his name? The Blue Lantern from the animated series.
Oh, the gray guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Keep talking.
Okay. What about Mogo?
That'd be pretty cool. I think he'd be a great transition character, though.
Oh yeah,
like,
that would be rad.
Like he comes up like whoa.
Yeah, like if they had Oa as a playable stage, that would be sweet.
Who else could we also talk about? I think they could have done this with Themyscira, but they had any of the Greek gods as transition characters. That'd be cool too. You get Crypto.
Oh yeah,
that'd be nice. What else could you also get? Plastic Man. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, you could definitely do cool things with him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's our Injustice DLC. Okay, so we've got just a few news items to talk about here. So the first thing is it was announced this week that HBO has ordered, how do I word this? They're looking into 4 different potential Game of Thrones spin-off prequels. Now, when I first read this, I was like, whoa, okay, let's slow down a little bit. But then I actually watched a video.
Saint Walker, that's his name. Saint Walker, okay. The Blue Lantern. Excuse me. I knew Walker was in there.
Okay. Anyway, I watched a video explaining it, and they're not going to necessarily produce all 4 of them. They're just looking into 4 different ideas. Now, this is going to be a prequel because, well, backing up a little bit, they're only doing 2 more seasons of Game of Thrones, and everyone's really sad about it. So I love that they're going to be continuing with this universe.
Because there's so much to do with it.
Yeah, like, it's sad that we're probably, we might get a few characters returning, but it would be, depending on where in the timeline they go to, it would be impossible, or at least very unlikely that would happen.
No, is time even relevant anymore now that, we have the 3-eyed raven?
I guess. Anyway, I'm really happy that we're continuing with this universe. Everybody wants more Game of Thrones, and I know HBO definitely doesn't want to let them go so easily. Now, George R.R. Martin and both of the showrunners for Game of Thrones are involved in the creative process in these shows, which is also a really great thing to hear. Do you have any, thoughts or preferences as to where this could go?
Actually, yeah. So this is nice because one of my wishes is coming true. Do you remember when we did that whole thing?
Oh, at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, like, what do you want to wish for?
Oh, I guess it was the end of the last year.
And then I was like, I want a prequel or something to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I said it could be live action, it could be animated. So, first off, I'm getting my wish, which I'm very happy about. I know we talked about, when I brought this up, a possible, coverage of Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah.
We could talk about the First Men and how they came over and the initial war with the Children of the Forest. The Andals, and when they came over with the Faith. There's so much we could do about it. Mm-hmm. The first Targaryen establishment. We could even go all the way back to old Valyria and see how they became the what do they call it? The Freehold? Well, we could see how the establishment of old Valyria became. Yeah,
like I was gonna say, like, we don't even have to stay in Westeros. Yeah. Like, we could see like a series about Dorne. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
or go across the Narrow Sea. Like, I have a whole Dothraki series. Like, they could do lots of stuff.
Or we because I know there's also like other parts of the world that you don't know either. Because a lot of I was gonna say George R.R. Martin. Oh gosh, it's George R.R. Martin, right?
Yeah,
that's freaking too many R's. George R.R. Martin. He draws a lot of comparison to like real world stuff, but he doesn't make it explicitly just like a reflection. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So he has he pulls from different cultures to make different parts of his world. Mm-hmm. And I know that there are no Asian people, or there's no,
Asia equivalent.
Yeah, it's mentioned in the books.
Okay. But
it hasn't been shown yet, and I know I kind of want to see that. Mainly because I want to be in a Game of Thrones episode. Not that I'm a thespian, but no, I think that would be really cool to see. But like we said, it could go a different way. I feel like this could definitely go the route of Better Call Saul. It could be definitely popular, and they can bring in other like elements from the original show, but it could still be its own thing. Okay,
next news item here is that the next movie in the Alien franchise has been officially canceled. Now, we have talked about the very confusing Alien timeline quite a bit. So there's, in order of theatrical release, there's Alien, then Aliens, then Alien 3, then Alien Resurrection, and then Prometheus, which was a prologue, and then Alien Covenant, which, as I understand it, takes place between Prometheus and Alien. Now, there was talks and like a supposed script of a sequel to Alien Resurrection, which was supposed to wipe Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection out of the Alien canon, which I think is uncool because I like both those movies. They're definitely not as good as the first two, but I enjoy them a lot because they add a lot to the Alien lore. But that's no longer happening according to Ridley Scott. According to him, it never progressed past a pitch to the studio. Like they had a rough story idea, but they never did any scripting or storyboarding or casting or anything like that. I don't know. I don't think I could ever get tired of too much xenomorphage. So I'm a little bit sad about this. And, I wasn't a huge fan of Prometheus. Yeah. Alien Covenant hasn't come out, so I can't really pass judgment on it. But if it's in the same vein as Prometheus or like the same level of how much I like it, then I kind of wish that I would have gotten to see more of, what was her name in the movie? Ripley.
I was going to say, I almost said Ridley, but no.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of Ripley's story, although Sigourney Weaver is, getting up there in age. So I don't know how much...
She doesn't look like it.
No, yeah. She's
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I don't know how much she would really want to be, running from aliens these days.
You never know.
Yeah.
Have you seen I should say reviews? Because some reviewers are good doing reviews without spoiling it. Have you seen any feedback about Alien Covenant? I've heard it's been pretty good actually, but this is the initial ones I've seen so far.
Does it come out that soon?
It's coming out really soon, yeah.
Oh dang!
So people have been saying that it's not what you would expect, but it's still enjoyable and still good. I don't know what that meant, but that's what people were saying. And they're saying it's in, it falls into the lore of aliens, and it definitely belongs into that franchise. So I actually kind of really I've been really pumped to seeing it in theaters. I saw a big poster for it yesterday, and the poster looks fantastic. It reminds you a lot of Alien vs. Predator. You remember when you already saw the whenever Luigi would read I know his name is Sebastian, but whenever Luigi he was reading the hieroglyphics and the writings, you saw how the xenomorphs were. It's very reminiscent of that, and I think that's just so cool.
Right on. Okay, last news item for this week. I told you, there really wasn't a lot to talk about. Is we got the announcement of the 2017 inductees to the Video Game Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So before we talk about the inductees, let's talk about what has already been inducted. So in 2015, which was when they first started it, there was Pong, which, can't really go wrong with Pong. Yeah. Pac-Man, which, obviously... Super Mario Bros. Again, just no-brainer. Tetris, super no-brainer. And Doom. There's one more. Doom. Now, I haven't played Doom personally. I think it's probably deserving of that list. It was the first-person shooter.
It did a lot for that genre.
And the last one is World of Warcraft, which also super deserving, just this titan of MMORPG is still going super strong. Definitely deserving of that one. So that was 6. They inducted 6 into the very first class. And since then, they've only done 4 per year. Or no, wait. No, they did 6 last year. There was only 4 this year. I don't know why they changed it. Anyway, so then in 2016, there was Grand Theft Auto 3. Also very deserving. That was the first 2 Grand Theft Autos were I think they were 2D or isometric games. Grand Theft Auto 3 is when they changed it to be much basically the model that they follow now, the open world 3D super brutal violent car jacking games.
Then you can have jetpacks and bazookas.
Yeah, because why not? Then there was Legend of Zelda, which is
of course
total no-brainer there. The Oregon Trail.
Yeah. See, just by coincidence.
Super deserving there. The Sims, which I definitely agree with. That might not be a universal opinion, but I love the Sims.
I feel like Oregon Trail would not be a universal opinion either.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, The Sims. I've definitely talked on here about how much The Sims was an influence in my childhood days. Sonic the Hedgehog, again, really no argument there. And Space Invaders.
Great game.
I like Space Invaders. I'm more of a Galaga guy, personally. But Space Invaders is fine.
Yeah. I played Space Invaders before Galaga.
I played Galaga.
I enjoy both. Yeah. I enjoy both.
So anyway, then the games that were nominated this year that didn't get in, we'll start with that. There was Final Fantasy VII, which definitely deserves to be in there at some point. That is, I've never played it, but it's a very, very highly regarded game. Yeah. The first 3D Final Fantasy, I believe, and really game changer there. Microsoft Windows Solitaire, which, you know, is a little bit of a strange choice. I understand why it didn't make it in this year, but I actually think that it deserves to be in there.
I feel like that's fair.
It was like one of the first introductions of, quote, casual gaming to the mainstream audience. And I would be lying if I didn't say that I've spent a lot of hours playing Microsoft Solitaire. Then there was Mortal Kombat. Again, super deserving. Yeah. Myst. Also super deserving. I've never played it, but it's this really crazy first-person puzzle-solving game where you're walking around this creepy island and you're doing weird stuff. Yeah. Then there's Portal. Now, out of all of the games on this list, if I was to pick one to say, I'm not so sure about that, it would probably be Portal.
Really?
Now, I love Portal. Don't get me wrong. Like, the game is super fun, super witty. GLaDOS, who's the antagonist in that game, she is just hysterical with her deadpan black humor. But as far as what the game actually does, I don't think it's that innovative. I mean, like, there's some things, you know, the portals are an interesting mechanic, but I feel like it's not the most revolutionary thing ever. So I'm not too surprised that it didn't get in this year. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't get in, if it got in another year. And I think it would be a great pick. I'm not sure. I'm not surprised. Like, I think there are other games on this list that were more deserving, personally. Then we have Resident Evil. Again, really no-brainer there. Tomb Raider. Again, yeah. Super great game. One of the first appearances of a strong female protagonist. Laid the groundwork for a lot of 3D action platformers. So it was good nomination. And Wii Sports, which is one of the best selling games of all time. I played it bunches. It's super fun. Never gets old. Yeah. But anyway, the games that actually got in this year are Donkey Kong, which, I mean, I'm surprised it took this long for it to get in. Like, obviously the other games that got inducted are very well deserved, but I mean, Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's a fun game. I'm really terrible at it.
It's okay, me too. I'm really bad at it.
In the game Donkey Kong 64, in order to 100% that game, you have to actually beat the game Donkey Kong inside the game Donkey Kong 64. You have to beat it twice.
What?
Yeah. Like so you play as Donkey Kong in that game.
Mm.
Like okay, Donkey Kong history is super weird. You play as Donkey Kong in that game, right? Or no, you play as Jumpman, who's now Mario, and you're trying to rescue your girlfriend, Pauline, from Donkey Kong. And then there's another arcade game called Donkey Kong Jr. That's Donkey Kong's son. The Donkey Kong that we know today, the one from Donkey Kong 64, Donkey Kong Country, Super Smash Brothers, that is Donkey Kong the third, I guess you would call him. It's the Donkey Kong from the original Donkey Kong, his grandson.
Okay.
But they're all called Donkey Kong.
I don't know why that's funny, but it just kind of humorous.
Anyway, so you play as Donkey Kong the third, and then there's a factory level, and there's an arcade of the original Donkey Kong game, and you play the game.
So meta.
Yeah, it is really weird, and you have to beat the game twice. And I never would have done that if it wasn't for the save states that were on the Wii U Virtual Console.
Good lord.
Yeah. Anyway, then there was Halo Combat Evolved.
Hey.
So I'll let Brandon talk about this one because I don't know as much as he does.
So as you guys know, I'm a huge Halo fan, and I honestly think that it definitely deserves recognition, and I'm glad it's being entered into this thing because, like we said, like Alex said, Doom was very much a pioneer for first-person shooters, and there are other ones that followed, but I think Halo Combat Evolved really took that and, like, for lack of a better word, it evolved that genre into something that it is today. They upped up the graphics, they upped up the storytelling, they upped up like sound elements, design, and it just did so much that it showed that for first person shooters you can be totally immersive into a world as well. And I'm really happy that Halo is getting involved into this.
And then there's Pokemon Red and Green. Now, it's very curious that they would choose red and green instead of red and blue.
Yeah.
I've never played the Japanese versions. My understanding is that they're pretty much the same as red and blue. They might be a little bit harder. But yeah, it's kind of weird that they would go with the Japanese versions. But I mean, Pokemon, 20 years later is still a juggernaut of a media franchise. So
yeah,
definitely deserving. The first games are, there are certain parts about them that are very, there's some odd things about it, like the mechanics that have definitely been refined over the years, but I mean, they're still incredible games, and they launched the Pokemon franchise, and that's definitely worthy of recognition. So I don't know if you're going to be able to hear that in the recording, but there's a plane that just flew over us, and I hope you can't hear it. Anyway, last game is Street Fighter 2. Also, I mean, can't really argue with that. It's one of the most popular fighting games of all time. Probably most people would say it's the best game in the Street Fighter franchise. I liked Street Fighter 4 a lot personally, but Street Fighter 2 is cool.
Yeah.
You beat up a car, which is awesome. But yeah, so congratulations to those games and the teams that worked on them. Can't wait to find out what happens next year. Do you have any, if you were on the nomination committee, do you have any games that you would nominate?
That I would nominate?
Yeah.
Probably Metroid.
The original?
Oh, that's a good one. I feel like maybe that one.
I feel like most people would probably say Super Metroid over Metroid.
So?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I haven't played the original Metroid. I played Zero Mission, which my understanding is that it's a remake. And then the parts with Zero Suit Samus were added on. But I haven't played the original. Super Metroid is a good game, though. I liked it. I talked about it on the podcast, though.
Yeah. Maybe Metal Gear.
The original Metal Gear?
Not original Metal Gear. But
Metal Gear Solid.
Any of the Metal Gears, I think.
Okay.
Probably Metal Gear. Probably Metal Gear Solid, though. Oh, I feel like 2 was really when everything shifted into craziness.
That's true. With like 3-hour long cutscenes.
Oh my goodness. And it just progressively got even like more and more and more. Which is funny because I know a lot of people said, Metal Gear 4 is basically a movie.
Yeah. Well, that's the news.
That's the... Sorry, when you said that, I just pictured you as like a news broadcaster. And when you ran out of things, you're like, well, that's it. Don't know what else to talk about.
Basically. All right. So now it's time for some hot takes. Oh, me go first?
Of course.
Okay.
This is your segment.
I guess. I mean, I didn't really mean for it to be that way, but sure. Okay. First hot take for this week is I watched the most recent season of Archer, which got put on Netflix recently. Archer is an adult cartoon about a super spy named Sterling Archer and his cohort of misfits Well, I mean, he's a misfit too. Anyway, it's really dumb. It's really funny. I like it a lot. The main reason I want to talk about it is because this season ended on a super big cliffhanger. Just like Rick and Morty, I was so upset when that happened. I was like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? I need to know what happened. So, yeah, I don't want to say what happens, but it was not cool the way they ended it.
There's another season coming though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, again, most recent season. I would have to say this is the best season of Sunny that they've done.
You know, I didn't know Sunny was going on for so long.
Yeah. I watched season 11, and season 12 is on TV right now. So it's a lot of Philadelphia.
Yeah. I've only seen maybe like 4 episodes at most. I really like them. I just didn't know it was going on for so long.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say is that this has probably been my favorite season of Sunny, like, ever. So that's really cool. Then I watched season 2 of Better Call Saul. You haven't watched Better Call Saul, have you? Oh my gosh, Brandon, it's so good.
Is it really?
It's so different. Like, it's really different from Breaking Bad. Like, even though what's the actor's name?
The one who plays Saul?
Yeah.
Bob
Odenkirk.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same character, and even though Vince Gilligan is behind it, like, it really feels very distinct from Better Call Saul. And, you know, there's a few crossover characters, but, you know, take all those aspects away, like, it could be its own standalone show and be really fantastic.
Nice.
So I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a fan of Breaking Bad, like, you can definitely still watch this and still super appreciate it. So there's my 2 thumbs up. I watched the show Lucifer.
Okay.
So only season 1. Season 2 is almost over, but not quite. So I decided to just wait till the whole thing's over before I watched that. I don't know if I can really recommend this show. So Lucifer is based on some comic books about Lucifer, who it's actually the devil. And he gets bored of ruling hell, and so he decides to leave there and move to Los Angeles. He runs a nightclub, and basically he has wanton sex and kind of just has a very hedonistic life and encourages others to do the same. Until one day, outside of his club, somebody gets murdered, and he helps the police to solve that murder investigation, and he decides that it's fun, and he decides to do that kind of as a part-time job. And there's this female detective that he ends up working with, and they have this very... she doesn't like him, like, she doesn't trust him.
Does she know that he's a devil?
Well, so here's the thing, is he is very open about the fact that he's a devil. He doesn't try to keep it a secret. He'll tell anybody that will listen that he's the devil. But most people, you know, if somebody came up to you on the street and said, hey, I'm the devil, would you believe them?
That's true.
Yeah. So she doesn't believe him, but she thinks he's up to something. So she's, like, looking into him. Like, she doesn't really trust him, but she's also, like, kind of attracted to him in that very, you know, devilish rogue kind of way.
Yeah.
And he's obviously attracted to her. So the thing is that, and so there's also these subplots about God wants him to return to hell because he's, like, neglecting his job, and but he acts like this very impetuous teenager. He's like, oh, my dad's trying to tell me what to do, and I don't want to. I'm going to be on Earth and be immortal, whatever. And so an angel from heaven named Amenadiel has been sent to Earth to convince him to go back to hell. So there's this subplot about all of that happening. So I like that aspect of the show, like the more... not really religious, but supernatural elements of the show. I like all of that part, but at the end of the day, it's a cop procedural drama about trying to investigate murders, and that is, you know, it's been done a lot, so it's okay. if that sounded appealing to you, I would say, you know, maybe check it out, but I don't know, it's not amazing or anything. Then the last TV show that I have to talk about is Legion.
Oh, you saw it?
Yes. So Legion is an FX show based around characters from the X-Men universe, and I give it 2 huge thumbs up. Super, super good.
Nice. I know Austin was talking to me about it. He really liked it.
Yeah. So the main character is named David Haller. He is in a mental institution for schizophrenia, but it turns out that he's not schizophrenic, but that he has multiple personalities, if that makes sense. Basically, like, each personality has a superpower, sort of. Anyway, that's all I'll say about the plot of the show. It's very, I don't know, it plays with time in a really interesting way. There's a couple of episodes toward the end of the season where there's long stretches of no dialogue because they enter this like dimension where you can't talk, and it's really weird. I don't know, it's just really trippy, really interesting, really engaging. So I really recommend it. 2 other things I want to say about it is, one really minor thing that I liked about it a lot is that in movies and TV shows, I like fixate on the fact that a character, if they're making some grand speech, that they never take a break to think about what they're going to say, or say or those kinds of fillers that I use all the time. And I'm personally very keenly aware of it just because of us recording about it, or recording ourselves talking, and then me going back and listening to, well, editing and listening to it, me just not knowing what I'm trying to say, or messing up my words, or taking breaks like I just did right there, that kind of thing. And so I'll fixate on a character, like, just for example, a lawyer giving a closing statement in court. Like, he'll give this grandiose speech about, you know, the nature of freedom and justice and whatever kind of BS that he's trying to, whatever BS theme he's trying to go on.
That is what you're going to be doing, though.
Shh. And in Legion, something that I like is that they take, like, they stutter. They'll be like, wait, what? Oh yeah, that's right. And then they'll like keep talking whatever they're talking about. So this is just like one tiny little detail that I appreciated.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's cool because it's one of those small things where you're aware of, but you never really see. Yeah. And then for some reason, you really like seeing it when it's on screen. It's just the process of acting for you.
Yep. And then the other thing I'll say is that Aubrey Plaza, she was the perfect casting choice for the character that she plays. I won't say anything about her character because it would be a big spoiler, but she's definitely a major character, and she does a fantastic job.
Which I found out when she was in the show. Like, that's, of course she would be in that show.
And then, keeping on the X-Men theme, I also watched X-Men Apocalypse. So going into this movie, I had the perception that it was like a pile of trash. Yeah. And that's definitely not true. Out of the 3 most recent X-Men movies, I would say it's the weakest, but...
The 3 being First Class, Days of Future Past, and... Oh, so the 3rd one, Apocalypse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Wolverine movies.
Yeah, I was going to...
Yeah. So it's the weakest, but not by much.
Okay.
It was, you know, I enjoyed it for what it was. You know, there's plot holes, there's things that are like, sense. But it's an X-Men movie. I had a fine time with it. So
I personally really enjoyed Apocalypse. Like you said, I think it could have been better. There are things that didn't make sense, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I do wish that, oh my goodness, it's such a cliche thing to say, but I do wish it was a little bit more darker, just because we're bringing in Apocalypse into the mix.
Right.
But aside from that, I was still okay. I think Oscar Isaac, personally, he did a fantastic job as Apocalypse. I really, really enjoyed the way he portrayed Apocalypse in this.
Yeah, and at least he gets canceled, so...
That's right, yeah. I have to admit, I do like the way, spoilers, like I like how they defeated Apocalypse in the movie, because it's not... You remember how they do, right?
Well, doesn't Phoenix just like blow him up?
Yeah, but like, I like how they had to bring in the Phoenix to do that, because I mean, Other times they just kind of outsmart him.
But that's like literally a Deus Ex Machina. Is oh no, we don't have power. Oh, it's the Phoenix. She's more powerful, and now he's dead.
True, yeah. But then again, it's like this is also an alternate reality too. So I just like that they had to use like a weapon that they really don't want to use to defeat Apocalypse.
Well, it was a weapon they didn't really even know they had. I mean, like, they hinted at it before. There's, like, the nightmare sequence where she's, like, freaking out. But did they know that was the Phoenix Force? I really doubt it.
I mean, it was still in the preliminary stages, so you never know.
Yeah.
I like they at least did that instead of, like, getting all of them or, like, just saying, oh, Xavier beat him in a mind battle or whatnot.
That's true, yeah.
Just give him, like, a real cop-out way to die.
So, yeah, if you like the X-Men movies and you were trepidatious about seeing X-Men Apocalypse like I was personally, I would say go check it out. It was I got it on Redbox. It was $1, so nice. definitely have spent dollars at Redbox on worse movies. Oh, actually, I guess it was $2 because I got the Blu-ray. They jacked up their prices, man. Anyway, then I watched a documentary called King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters. Now, this is, I would say, one of the better known documentaries out of all of the documentaries that have ever been made. But the look on Brandon's face tells me I don't think he's ever heard of it. So this is the story of the defending world record holder of the high score in the arcade game Donkey Kong, and the guy who's attempting to take that crown. Now, I won't say any more than that, partially because I watched it a really long time ago and I forgot a lot of what happens in the majority of the movie, but also I think you should watch it yourself. I watched the whole thing on YouTube, so it's there, it's free, you don't have to spend any money on it. It's like a little bit over an hour, so it's not even a big time investment. And if you're a nerd like me, definitely I found it very interesting. Now, the thing about documentaries that you always have to keep in mind is that they frame it in a way to make you take the perspective that the filmmakers want you to take. Did you ever watch Making a Murderer?
I haven't.
Okay. Did you ever watch Super Size Me?
Maybe about a quarter of it. A little bit more than that.
A quarter pounder?
Yeah. I actually never had a quarter pounder before.
Okay. Anyway, well, I guess I can't really use those as examples. Anyway,
but I know what you mean by Super Size Me though, because I've seen enough of it to kind of.
I mean, they
understand what you're going with that.
They definitely are biased, and they try to make you feel a certain way about it. So keeping that in mind, is they portray this challenger as the protagonist, and they portray the holder of the world record as this very cocky, very arrogant, very, I don't know, he's kind of like a stereotype of like he sort of reminds me of, well, you're not going to get this reference either. He sort of reminds me of Biff Tannen from the Back to the Future movies, or at least the first one. Not that cartoonish of a character, and he's not like a physical bully, but he's very like, I'm the best, you can't beat me, that kind of thing.
He's like Gary from Pokemon.
Yeah, sort of. So even keeping that bias in mind, I was definitely rooting for the guy to beat the world record holder, and I won't spoil how the movie ends, but see, I can't even say how I felt about the ending, because then it will ruin how it ends, probably. The one downside to this movie documentary is that it came out quite a long time ago. I want to say like 2007.
Okay.
And so I looked it up on Wikipedia afterwards, and since then, the world record has been increased by almost 100,000 points. At the time of the movie, the world record was just shy. I believe it was just shy of 1 million, and now it's like 1.1 million. So I think. So actually, that would be a bit more than 100,000 points, which, saying, 1 million to 1.1 million doesn't sound like too much, but when you're talking about like basically perfection of a game to get 1 million points, to be more than perfect to get 1.1 million is, an accomplishment.
It's like what Tony said in the very first Iron Man: records are made to be broken.
Yes. And the world record holder now, like the main competition between two guys who are trying to keep the world record and take the world record, are not even the ones who were in the movie. Like, they're two guys who were new to the scene after this movie came out, who are not even mentioned in the movie, which is kind of makes the movie irrelevant. Like, the whole underdog story is still interesting to watch, but I don't know. I guess I kind of would like an update, not like, I wouldn't need to see a whole new documentary about this same struggle, but if they could add like 15 minutes of footage of like then and now, just kind of recapping what's happened since then, that would be cool. But I enjoyed it. I recommend it. If you're into documentaries, then I would point you in that direction. Okay, 2 more movies. First is Teen Titans: The Judas Contract.
See, that's actually on one of my hot takes.
What?
Yeah, because I have my own hot takes because I've been saying for a while I want to do it. So that was actually on one of mine.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Good job, Alex.
Actually, all right. Let me do the other one first.
Okay.
And then we can do like a little bit longer of a discussion about the Judas Contract. Okay. So the other one I watched just last night was Justice League Dark.
Okay, I still haven't seen that one.
Okay. So funny thing about DC movies is that they do a great job of announcing them. They'll do like panels at conventions talking about, interviewing the cast, or like talking about, what's different from the comic books to the film adaptation. And they'll promote it on Twitter and stuff. And then the movie will release very quietly. Yeah. And so I remember talking about this movie on the podcast, watched the trailer and everything, and I was excited about it. And then it came out and I totally forgot that it had come out. And, earlier last week, I saw something on Twitter that was like, hey, Justice League Dark is on sale on iTunes this weekend, so go check it out. I was like, oh, I totally forgot that movie came out. So I watched it, and I'm super glad I did. So this is like one of my top 5 favorite DC animated movies now. Really? It was really, really good.
Really?
Yeah. I won't say anything about the plot. All you need to know is the characters in there are awesome. A lot of really underrated or lesser known characters. You've got Constantine, Zatanna, Etrigan the Demon, Swamp Thing, and Deadman. Those are like the main 5 plus Batman, but everybody knows Batman. So if you're not into comic books, there's probably a good chance you've never heard of any of those characters, and this is a good introduction to them. Plots are great, animation is great. If I had to give it one knock, it would be that Batman isn't voiced by Kevin Conroy, but it is what it is. So yeah, definitely recommend Justice League Dark. Okay, so do you have any other hot takes that you want to do before we talk about?
I do, actually. Okay. So one of mine is that I saw... Okay, first one I'll do is I saw How to Be a Latin Lover.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that movie.
No, I haven't.
So it's a movie that came out recently. It stars Salma Hayek, Rob Lowe, Chris Traeger. Who else is famous in there? Michael Cera is in it for a little bit. Ben Schwartz is in it for a little bit. Literally, Ben Schwartz only has one scene in it. And then the main guy, his name is... I know his first name. I don't know his last name. Give me 1 second. It stars Eugenio Derbez. You know?
No.
Oh, it's this guy.
All right.
So the plot of the movie is basically that when he was younger, he lived in Mexico, and his father worked all the time, and he thought that something happens to their family. He's like, you know what? When I grow up, I don't want to work. I just basically want to be a trophy husband. So he just kind of goes around, and one day he works as a hotel boy, and he was really attractive when he was like in his teens or his 20s, and he was like looking at all these older women, literally older women, like by 30 years, hoping to get a catch, and then he catches one. And then he lives with her, and then you kind of see him like as he's getting older, like she's gotten super old. He's just got like out of shape, and he's like really spoiled by his life. He doesn't do anything. He's super lazy, and he basically kind of like gigoloed himself out, but through marriage. And then one day, his old wife cheats on him, and then so he gets kicked out. He doesn't have anything, so he has to move in with his sister, who he hasn't talked to in years, and her son. And it's just kind of like going through the whole like story, like what does he do with his life? Does he get a job? Does he just try and find another wife to get with? Overall, I was okay with this movie. I didn't really want to see it when it came out. Like, not because I thought it was bad. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not gonna see this in theaters. But Friday night, my friend's like, hey, I'm bored. Let's hang out. Let's go watch this movie. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Like, at least I'll get a seat because everybody else is watching Guardians of the Galaxy. Which wasn't the case, because when I went to the movie theater, it was packed.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Was it opening weekend?
I don't think so. I think I've been around for a while. There are a lot of Hispanic people in the movie, so like whenever they made like a reference, they're like, hey! But like I said, it was actually genuinely okay. There were plenty of moments where I'm just like laughing my butt off just because like I understood what they were saying, or like just like the mannerisms of the actors. Actors got along really well. I love the chemistry between them. There are some characters where like they really didn't have to be here just because they're super annoying. You didn't really add anything to the plot. The ending I didn't really like because it tied everything up together really well. And
like too well,
too clean. And just like it really like I know I had to like give into the suspension of belief, but there was so much that was just like so far out there. And my friend, she liked it at the ending. I was just personally, I was like, no, it just doesn't work like that. So that was one of the things I did. Like we were talking about, I saw Judas Contract. What's another thing I did? Samurai Jack. I really want to talk about Samurai Jack. So I've watched all the episodes of this new season. Honestly, like this has to be like one of the most perfect seasons of anything I've ever seen. Damn. Because animation is absolutely fantastic. You can see it's basically the same thing from what they made since the last time they made Samurai Jack, but everything's like even more like updated and just like it flows so well and animated, and the story that they've done with it is just fantastic because you see where Jack has fallen and it just kind of goes through his progression of like where he goes now 50 years after the events of the first 4 seasons, and just the way it's done. And a lot of what they've done, it belongs on Adult Swim, which it's being shown right now because it's a lot of violence, a lot of actually that's basically about it. There's some more adult themes that kind of come and go, but the humor is still there. It's still very much in the spirit of Samurai Jack, and oh my gosh, like there are only 10 episodes in this season, and episode 8 just finished, so there's only 2 more episodes left. So it's gonna be really sad. I won't have to say goodbye to that, but you know, this is it, right? This is it. Like this is like the conclusion of Samurai Jack. Like they brought it back for the one last season, and after this, like
that's crazy. Like
the end of it.
You would think, like, because like there's still a super huge fan base, or maybe not huge, but very passionate fan base. And like you'd think they would keep it going. Yeah, but I you know what? I had to give my appreciation to the director because he said, you know what, I want to make this many episodes. I want to tell this story in this amount of time. And he stuck to that. Like, yeah, he could have definitely like gotten more money and kept going with it and shoveled it out. But you can tell from like how Samurai Jack is made that this is his art project. He loves doing this. He wanted to make it because he wanted to make it, and he made it for the fans too. And you know, hats off to you for that. And I had one more. Oh yeah. Oh, God, what was it? I finally saw the ending of the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I have never seen the ending. I mean, I know what happens. I've seen pictures, but I finally saw like how it ended because Jared, Kenzie, and Anna were in the lobby at the residence hall where I work at, and it was just going on. I kind of like peeked over the second floor. I'm like, what's going on? And I see how it ends. Like, I didn't
finish it the way I probably would have wanted to, which is like sitting down on the couch watching it.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, so that's how everything kind of like all the scenes kind of mash up together.
Wait, okay. So from what part did you start watching it?
I think that's when. So I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark from the beginning to the part where like I think Indy is aiming a bazooka at the Ark, saying like, if you don't get it, I'm gonna blow it up.
Okay.
And then that's where I stopped. And then when I saw them watching it, I think they were going to like the place where the Ark is supposed to be revealed or whatnot.
Right.
And yeah, so that happened. I need to watch the movie in the entirety now because I've seen all of Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade. I've seen bits and pieces of The Crystal Skull. But I saw like Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade like when I was in 7th grade.
Uh-huh.
So it's definitely been a while since I've seen some of that. But yeah, so I think that's basically all that's happened that I kind of caught up in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I could talk about how I've been rewatching some SpongeBob. You want to hear about that?
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Okay, Judas Contract. Do you want to do spoilers? No? Yeah? Okay.
Why not?
We're going to spoil it, so if you care, then look in the description. I'll put some timestamps for when we're going to be talking about it. So, the Judas Contract is essentially Hive and Brother Blood hire Slade, aka Deathstroke.
Can you say it like Slade?
Slade!
Nice.
To kidnap the Teen Titans so that Brother Blood can steal their powers and be super powerful. And yeah, that happens. Yeah. And it's not pretty. But before that, some other stuff happens. So the whole Terra Deathstroke relationship was super not cool.
The problem is it's accurate to the comics.
Yeah, I figured, but it really threw me off.
It's worse than the comics.
Oh, really?
Like in this movie, they really dialed it down and they made it more like Deathstroke. It's like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. I just kind of want to use you, blah, blah, blah. In the comics, it's an actual thing.
Ugh.
Yeah. For the most part, they've kind of like retconned that out of Deathstroke's thing. Like in that, back when like, in the day when alternate universes and dimensions and timelines weren't a thing.
Right.
Like, oh, it's kind of like one of the dark secrets of Deathstroke we won't ever talk about. But yeah, that was a thing.
And then, like, other than besides that, Starfire makes a couple of like sex jokes, which was like, I'm not a prude. Like, it wasn't the end of the world. Like, it didn't ruin the movie for me, but I could have done without it.
I know.
But
I personally thought it was funny, especially when they were doing the training session when she was fighting Nightwing.
Yeah,
I thought that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah. Other than that, there was.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say like when Deathstroke first shows up, and then Damian sees him, he's like Slade, but he says it so like matter of factly. I was like, oh, he almost did it, but he couldn't even do it right because he's Damian. He has to ruin everything. But then he wasn't really a big part of the rest of the movie, so I was okay with it. So
actually, I was going to talk about that. Like, I loved how they fixed Deathstroke in this movie from Son of Batman. Because in Son of Batman, I did not like Deathstroke. Like, his design is cool and everything. But what they did with him, I was not cool with that because he was just kind of like a ha-ha villain, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and blah 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 blah, and he like went out like a chump against Batman, who like he was supposed to be a hand-to-hand combatant equal to Batman. He got beaten up in less than 30 seconds.
Batman was in great form that day.
Oh my gosh, and I didn't even you know what, the fight between him and Damian in Son of Batman, I didn't even mind that Damian won that, but what I mind about it was that he had to like, he was a part of that story. You know what I mean? Like, I love Deathstroke so much. He's one of my favorite characters. But I just, like, I didn't really see why they had to put him in that movie. So when they have him in Judas Contract, they acknowledge that that still exists, unfortunately. But, you know, I like what they did with him better. Like, he's not as, like, he doesn't give big speeches and be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. he can actually fight better. Like, he took on Damien and Nightwing at the same time. He captured all the Teen Titans, so that it showed off more of his, like, planning abilities and his intellectual side. He was a lot cooler and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like they did Deathstroke a lot more justice in Judas Contract than they did in Son of Batman. So that one I really appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I just thought of is, you remember in the very beginning of the movie, like when Starfire first like lands on Earth or whatever, there was a Beast Boy there, and then when they flash forward, there's another Beast Boy who's a part of the current Teen Titans. What was that about? Because I thought there was only one Beast Boy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same Beast Boy or not. I honestly don't know.
Okay, I'll have to look.
I just took it as like it's the same Beast Boy. It's just like he just doesn't age that much.
Dude, I took it as it was being different Beast Boys.
Because he has the same name, like Garfield.
Yeah.
So that's why I assume that's the same Beast Boy.
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
What else? I did not like Terra in this movie.
Like her design, her character.
I just didn't like her.
Well, I didn't really like her in the cartoon either.
I thought she was better in the cartoon.
Well, like at first, like she's fine and everything. How she's like, can't really control her powers, and she's slowly getting stronger. But then she turns to the dark side, and then you're supposed to hate her because she betrays the team. And then
traitor.
Yeah, exactly. She does the same thing here, except she more or less has control of her powers. Like, we see a couple times how she isn't completely in control, but for the most part, she has control. I wasn't a big fan of her design. Just like the punk girl look has never really been appealing to me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, I'm not saying that sarcastic. I was like, oh, really? It just sounded sarcastic.
Okay.
What?
Well, is it appealing to you?
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Just not on Terra, because I didn't like Terra.
Okay. She had a very deep voice. What?
I mean, it's true, so I can't disagree.
Yeah. What else do I would say?
About Terra or everything?
Just the movie.
What do you think about Brother Blood?
He was fine. I mean, like, even though he was the main antagonist, like, he was barely in it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is fine. I didn't really mind. Yeah.
I thought overall the movie was okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what they... Because I know the Judas Contract is definitely considered one of the classics of DC back in the day.
Yeah.
And I feel like kind of sort of like whenever... Because they've been doing it a lot with some of the better known titles. They've been adapting them to the animation. And either they've been really highly praised or they've been totally kind of don't meet the expectations. I feel like this is kind of the case for Judas Contract, in my opinion. Like, it was enjoyable, but I feel like it didn't meet the expectation I was like expecting it.
See, because I went in not really knowing much about the Judas Contract, like the comic book story, so I thought it was good. Like, because I had seen the Teen Titans cartoon, like, I knew that Terra was going to be a traitor, so that wasn't like some big shocking reveal. The whole relationship between her and Slade was shocking, but not in a good way. But yeah, it was fine.
I feel bad, but the big takeaway I took from the movie is like they made Deathstroke better.
Yeah,
like, I know. I know it sounds very single-minded, and it's like the only thing I paid attention to. But that was the big thing I took away. Like, okay. You did good. You killed them off, but you did good. I doubt he's actually dead, but you did good.
Yeah. Lazarus Pit.
Yeah. I have to admit, I did kind of like when Brother Blood finally died, just because like he gave.
Or did he?
I don't know.
Anyway, so I guess that means it's time to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. So. It just so happened we both have seen already.
What?
Oh, before we actually can I do one more hot take?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, now I remember what I was missing. You haven't seen Logan yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
So I won't spoil it, but we didn't get to talk about it on the show. I hope you eventually get to do it.
I will.
Logan was great. I loved Logan so much. I think the hype that has been given, I think it was very, very like deserving of it. It's not the perfect movie because there's some parts where I'm like, okay, I don't know why it's in there. But that was only like maybe 1 or 2 parts. Everything else I was totally cool with. There's some like questions that don't get answered and some things that are just there. I'm like, why is it there again? But aside from that, it's really good. I think you're really going to enjoy this.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter that they're going to be doing a special release of Logan in theaters where the movie is going to be in black and white.
Yeah.
Would that enhance the viewing experience, or would it be weird, or what do you think?
I don't know, actually, because I feel like it's appropriate just because of like the mood and the setting that they were going for. I think it would work overall. I think they have to be careful, not because just play off with the grays too and the color imaging, because if you just do black and white, it might get lost a little bit. But I think that'd be pretty cool to see. Okay. It's funny because the first part of the movie, or a large part of it, takes place in Texas, or at the border with Mexico too. So it's going to be like really bright and really sunny. But I'm not saying it's impossible. So I think it would add on overall.
Yeah, I hope when they do like a home Blu-ray DVD release that they give you an option of
instead of having to buy an actual like copy of it, black and white. I think so. I hope so
that
too.
would be lame.
That'd be stupid, but yeah. But so Logan. So I hope you enjoy Logan when you watch it.
I will. I'll get around to it soon.
But now we can talk about Guardians.
Okay. So we're going to be doing spoilers. So again, if you haven't seen it and you're planning on seeing it, I'll put timestamps in the description. So make sure you go check that out. But let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously.
Okay, first off, I'm so happy I saw this movie. I know when I first saw it, like, I don't know what to expect. And that's the big thing. Like, the minute I sat in the theater, I was just, like, waiting for the movie to start. I'm like, you know what? I have no idea what this movie is about. Like, we've seen the footage. We know that Quill's dad is coming.
Right.
We know that Groot's still a baby and that these characters are going to be in it. But aside from that, we don't know anything about this movie. And I'm really happy about that.
Right.
And I was so good at like avoiding spoilers and everything because I don't know what happens. So happy about this movie because I definitely know that if somebody told me this was happening, it would have ruined the experience for me.
Yeah, so in order to refresh my mind about the movie, I watched the first one earlier in the week. And I remember when the movie came out to begin with, people were like, oh, this is the best MCU movie ever. Like, it's so funny, and the characters are great, and the action's awesome, and the effects are great. And rewatching it now, removed from all that hype, I would say that it's good, like, at best. Like, it's not fantastic. Definitely not, like, in my top 5 MCU movies. It's not bad by any means. Great origin story. There's definitely a lot of really great humor. But I don't personally think that it's one of the best movies. And so, having that realization, I was less hyped for Volume 2 going into it. But then my expectations were surpassed.
Right.
To just get this out of the way, I would give this movie like a 8 out of 10.
Me too.
Probably.
Me too.
It didn't, blow my socks off, but I definitely had a really good time. A lot of the things that I loved about the first movie were present here. We didn't have to worry about setting up,
for a new movie.
Right.
It was like its own story by itself. So I think we should do a summary just to kind of like refresh our memories.
Yeah.
So, movie opens up. The Guardians are on this planet. They're waiting for this monster to come. And, there's some banter between everybody. And it's like good old Guardians. Like, I like how they don't like kind of introduce you to the characters again. You kind of, they know that you know the characters already. So they just kind of throw it into the mix.
Yeah.
There's some lines about like, why isn't Drax wearing the special thing? And Drax is like, it hurts my nipples. Oh, I have sensitive nipples.
Yeah.
And then when the monster comes, like, then I love that beginning sequence because Rocket, he made like the stereo system so they can have tunes to play while they fight. And already like I was kind of giggling to myself like, that sounds ridiculous, but in all honesty, I would probably do that. Like, I would love to have tunes going on while I fight people, especially a giant monster. And then they get so occupied with the monster, the music doesn't go on, and Groot he connects the wires together.
Right.
And then he just has his own little dance number.
Yeah.
And like, okay, at first I thought they were just playing off the Groot thing. Like they just want to get more Groot attention. But it's baby Groot. I couldn't hate it. I just like, oh, it's Groot. And he's just like dancing and punching these little alien rats and everything. And the background, you see how all the Guardians are trying to fight this giant monster. And Groot's not helping at all. And then, you know, like they finally defeat the monster. And I really love how Drax is like, we can't penetrate the hide from the outside. We got to go through the inside. And, you know, at first I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Because, like, you know, that's like the concept of a lot of games and movies. You can't do it from the outside, you do it from the inside. And when they talked about it, Star-Lord was like, that doesn't make any sense. Skin's the same from the inside as it is from the outside.
I'm still not sure about that.
Me neither.
But it was funny.
Yeah. And you see how Drax is still trying to like defeat it from the inside. And then Gamora is the one that finally like takes out this monster. And then just already like that was like the first like 15 minutes.
Not even. It was like 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Maybe,
I feel like it was longer. Maybe just because like I feel like Groot took it longer than that.
Yeah.
But it was still like a really good thing. And then when they go to the
song, I loved the song choice that they had.
Me too. Like I have to say the songs in this movie, like I already love the ones from the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one I think they did even better. Oh, I should probably like retract. There's actually a prologue before the fight scene where we see Star-Lord's dad and his mom.
Oh yeah, car. That's right. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah. In Missouri, they're trying to drive it around. First thing I noticed when I saw Star-Lord's dad, I thought it was this is gonna sound bad, but I thought it was like young Jeff Bridges at first because I'm like, it looks a lot like Jeff Bridges, but it's not him because he was already in Iron Man. So I see it, and I like how they don't really go too much detail. You can just kind of see like this really weird object in the ground.
Yeah, it was like kind of looked like a pine cone.
Yeah, and then it moves over to like the fight scene. They feed the monster. Then the Guardians go meet the Sovereign.
Right.
And the Sovereign, I have to say, the appearance of the Sovereign were pretty cool. It was kind of trippy, but I liked it a lot. And it's so much like gold and oranges that kind of hit at you. But I have to say, the movie is very colorful. And I really like that. So they talk with the Sovereign. They're discussing, oh, you did this for us, so we will grant you back another wish. So they give him Nebula.
Star-Lord tries to bang the High Priestess.
The High Priestess was flirting with him at first. You have to admit that. They talked about how they basically did a whole Man of Steel Krypton thing. Yeah. Where they talked about how they... like
birthing pods.
Yeah, like they make and design their babies and give them a function and make everything, which is entirely not the case of life. But, you know, that's just the Catholic in us talking. And then the High Priestess, her name's Aisha, she asked Star-Lord, what is your heritage, whatnot? And Star-Lord, he doesn't know. He says, I just know that my mom is from... He said, I know for sure my dad ain't from Missouri. And then she says some real snarky comment. And then that's like, this woman's not cool.
Yeah.
And then Rocket's like, man, I knew you people were conceited douchebags. But wow. And then I'm just like, oh my god, you don't say that. And like everybody, all the other Sovereign members were just really upset at Rocket, but they don't say anything. And as they're leaving, Rocket shows that he stole some of their power batteries, which was the thing that they were guarding from that giant alien. And as they're flying away, I was like, oh, you know, everything's great. We got Nebula. We'll do on our new adventure. Literally, like 2 minutes later, like they get attacked by all of these Sovereign ships.
Yeah.
And I really like the Sovereign ships because it's basically like an arcade.
An arcade, yeah.
Yeah. At first, I thought this is really stupid. Like you're just like, this is taken away from the seriousness of the film. But the more I watch, I'm like, no, I like this. I like it a lot. And that just kind of keeps going. And it made for a really entertaining space battle, I have to say for that. And then Nebula's just like, you guys are just idiots. Like, and then the whole little like side thing of Nebula wants the fruit. And they're like, no, it's not right. You can't have it. And which I think, you know, before going on, no, yeah, we'll just keep doing the summary. I'll give my thoughts later.
Okay.
So they keep going on that, and then they say the only way to like escape from all these ships, we got to go through that quantum asteroid field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, side note. Okay, so I think the Star Wars Twitter retweeted this quiz from NASA earlier in the week that about like how well can you distinguish between like real life science and science fiction. And one of the questions was like, how far apart are asteroids in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter?
Okay.
So it was multiple choice, right. But if you had to guess, what would your guess be?
I don't know.
Just throw out a number.
Like, so the asteroids between each other or between...
No, just between asteroids.
Between asteroids?
Yeah, how much distance?
Maybe, I would say... 9 feet?
600,000 miles.
600,000 miles.
Between asteroids.
Oh.
Yeah, right? Like, because, you look at like a chart of the solar system, you have all the planets in line, and you see the asteroid belt, and it looks like there's a ton of them, all lined up, and you would think, you couldn't go anywhere without hitting an asteroid, and they just have really thick metal on the, Voyager thing, the little Mars rover to, be able to get past it and go, or no, that the asteroid belt is beyond Mars. You know what I'm talking about, though, like the probes that they send out there. But no, like they said that it would be very, very rare for you to ever see 2 asteroids in your field of view at one time. So it's really easy to avoid. Yeah, so that was just some science fact I learned this week that I thought I would share.
That's pretty sweet, actually. Yeah. It kind of discounts a lot of what I've seen in movies, but I can enjoy the entertainment.
Well, again, and that's only in our solar system. In whatever solar system we're talking about in the movie, that wouldn't be the case necessarily.
So, continuing from asteroids, so they have to go through a quantum asteroid field, which I thought was a really, really funny idea because it makes no sense. But these asteroids are doing quantum jumps between like each other, so not only are you like having to navigate through these asteroids, like they're popping out of random space in intervals, and I like how that whole time Star-Lord and Rocket, they're having like their own bickering challenge between like, I'm the better pilot, no, I'm the better pilot, I'm in charge, and they're just like flying, and like you see the whole time I don't know why I was tense, but maybe because like seeing how like the ship was moving in ways it probably shouldn't have been moving. It just made me like it was just funny to me.
It was dumb, but yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, and then they get shot and attacked by the Sovereign, and then you think, oh no, it's gonna be the end for them. Then they get saved. Well, no, they didn't get saved.
Well, because the whole fleet, like...
First, Drax, he comes out. I have to say, in this movie, I loved Drax. So he puts on a spacesuit, which I like the design for that. It's very interesting. Not my first choice.
Like the little bubble thing?
Yeah. And then he gets this really big gun. He attaches a cable to himself. He jumps out of the Milano, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's so dumb because like the ship is literally moving and he's being like dragged on. So it's the equivalent of like you're on like the speedboat is on there, you're attached to it, and you're just like
like
being
parasailing.
Dragged. So he's like just like trying to shoot at this last ship because everybody back in the Sovereign planet are like, oh my god, like he's gonna make it, just like in an arcade.
Right.
And then Drax is like dies spaceship and he shoots the spaceship. And then they're like, oh my god, that was pretty cool. Like, it's dumb, but it was so cool. And then you see all the other Sovereign ships, like, they went around the asteroids.
Yeah.
Which I like that they acknowledge that because they're like, oh, we're so dumb. And then the other ships get destroyed by this mysterious being. They're like, it was just the one guy that destroyed it. And then, the Milano took on too much damage that they crash land on this planet. Do you want to continue from the summary? Because I feel like you haven't been talking for a while.
No, go on.
Oh, okay. So everybody crashes. Everybody's mad at each other because they're upset that Rocket...
Well, you forget the fact that they do an atmospheric entry on this planet with Drax dragging behind him and doesn't die.
I feel like, that's probably a good thing to mention. Also the fact that Gamora was able to catch onto Drax. So as I was saying, like the ship's falling apart, and then they see like on the computer, oh my god, Drax is still out there, so they have to go and help him. And then Drax almost gets detached from the ship. He does get detached from the ship, and then Gamora grabs it. Somehow she has the strength to grab onto the ship, and as they're hitting through the trees in the woods, like everything gets destroyed, and Drax is still getting pounded by all these trees. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad this is a superhero movie because in real life that guy would be dead. And then like the next scene, Drax is laughing. It's like, that was so awesome. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then so Gamora gets mad at Rocket and Peter because saying like, you guys were like basically measuring each other's you know what down there, trying to see who had the bigger one instead of like saving us and making sure we could have like done right. And I like the line where Peter's like, well, if mine had a hand on it, we would have landed on the planet. And then they're like, okay, who saved us from this mysterious being? And then this pod like lands on the planet, and out of it, lo and behold, comes out Mantis and Ego, who turns out to be Star-Lord's dad.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to more about like Ego kind of talks about more like, oh yeah, you're my son, I knew your mom, blah blah blah. See some interaction between Drax and Mantis, and you see how kind of a dick Drax is. And I don't really know if he knows it or not. I think he knows it to a degree.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of like Ego's mannerisms, and all of a sudden you know, yep, you're right, that's Peter's dad. And then Peter doesn't want to have anything to do with him, and Gamora's like, this is your chance, you might be able to find out more of yourself. And you're like, okay, this is going good, even though I knew that in the comics Ego is a bad guy,
right?
But I'm like, okay, I'll see where this is going. And then there's another part, a side story where Yondu, he's on their planet, and the Ravagers are all there. And it turns out that his crew is not the only Ravager crew. There's the Ravagers are just like, you remember from Pirates of the Caribbean, the Brethren Court?
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Yeah. The Ravagers like have different clans of each other. And
there's just a lot more clans than pirates. Yeah.
So. Yondu comes down. You see him like looking out the window, and you're like, "This is not."
Well, it's a whorehouse.
Yeah, but we're also like, this is not the same Yondu you remember from the last movie. The last movie, Yondu, like, he was aggressive, but he was also really gung ho and like really charismatic and really like energetic, and he has like a certain degree of joy to him. Automatically from the start, you see Yondu. He's like really somber, looking out the window. So he comes down from the building, and he acknowledges. Basically Sylvester Stallone. I think his character's name was Starhawk or something like that.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell what they were saying.
But he shows like this respect to Starhawk, and I was like, this is really surprising for Yondu because he doesn't really have respect for anybody. And then you find out that through the interaction that Yondu dealt in trafficking of children, which is it goes against the code of the Ravagers. So he gets exiled. Well, he's been exiled from the Ravagers essentially. And
he's salty.
Yeah, but Yondu at the same time, like, he's guilty and like he knows like, I shouldn't have done this in the first place. And then after that, on that same planet, Aisha comes and hires Yondu to track down Peter and the others. So Peter, Drax, and Gamora decide to go with Ego to his planet to see what's it about. Nebula, Groot, and Rocket, they stay on the planet where they crash landed, so Rocket can fix the ship and do more things. So the other team goes, they see how Mantis interacts with Ego, shows more of how Mantis can connect to people and how she's
her empathic abilities.
Yeah, she's an
empath, I guess you would say.
Yeah, like she said, like, you know how a telepath can read minds, I can read emotions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like does more of like sees how she does stuff. And then we arrive at Ego's planet. And it's this really, really, I have to say the design for Ego's planet was really interesting and really cool. So side thing, what I liked about it, Guardians of the Galaxy, they said that in the first one you can see a lot of it how it can be its own type of, you know, genre. It pulls a lot from Star Wars, Star Trek, and The Fifth Element, and all these other conglomerations of different sci-fi things. And I think it was really present in this movie. And I think it's gotten to the point where like Guardians of the Galaxy can make its own, like, almost establish itself in its own like little niche of sci-fi world building. Because I got that a lot from, especially from Ego's planet. So we see more of Ego's planet. You kind of see like shows what Ego is, and he says that he's a celestial. So he's this basically essentially a god with a little g. And then he talks about how he met his mom, how when he was created, he wanted to know more about life and meaning, and he wanted a purpose. And he tells more to Peter like, oh, the power that I have, you have, you know, within yourself too. And as long as you're on this planet, you can like wield that power. And then also, like I said, on the side, the Ravagers come and they find the crash ship, so they're gonna go and basically catch them, and they basically trigger all these booby traps of Rocket. And it was really fun to see all the Ravagers get like their ass kicked from all of Rocket's stuff, from like the darts to like the gravitational bounciness things he had to when he electrocuted all of them. And then finally he gets captured, and then Yondu, he comes up to them and said, you know what, I'm not going to turn you in because, you know, the universe is going to hate us if we kill the Guardians of the Galaxy. So we'll find another thing for you. And then it basically becomes split between Yondu and his crew and the other half of the Ravagers, because the other half of the Ravagers, they didn't think that was fair. They think he always sticks up for Quill all the time. They want a better captain because he didn't want him as a captain now. And then so this Ravager named Taserface, he's leading the mutiny.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Groot, he doesn't know what to do, and Nebula is convincing him, look, if you want to save your friend, you have to free me. And then the Ravager's about to shoot at each other, and right before Yondu is able to like use his arrow, he gets shot in the mohawk. And then you see Nebula has been freed because Groot freed him, and then she electrocuted Rocket. And then from then on, they get stuck. They're prisoners, basically, of the Ravagers. So going back to Ego, nothing really that much happens during the whole time. It's more about like Peter finding out more about his heritage, Mantis hanging out with Drax. Gamora is really suspicious of Mantis and Ego, so she kind of goes exploring on her own. And, you know, Peter and her have a whole dance number, but then, just like in the last one, it doesn't last. But the more she thinks about it, the more she realizes like something is really fishy, so she tries to find the mystery on the planet. And, you know, of course, back at the Ravagers, this is where...
Well, you forgot about the part where Peter and Ego play catch.
I guess we could talk about that. It was, I admit, it was heartwarming.
Oh, really? I thought it was really cheesy.
I thought so. That's why I thought it was heartwarming.
I guess.
Because he talked about, like, I never got to play, you know, catch with a dad.
Yeah.
The only thing I had close to a dad was this picture of David Hasselhoff I had. And I would tell people that he's my dad. So yeah, back at the Ravagers, this part was really dark for me. It was when how the Ravagers killed the people that were loyal to Yondu. They put them in like the airlock, and then they ejected them out, and they just let them die. And then you see like they left a trail of people to die. I'm like, this is actually really, really, really dark.
Well, I mean, in the first movie, Gamora almost dies that way, and then Peter saves her, and he almost dies that way until he gets rescued by Yondu, and then, you know, spoilers for later in the movie, but then that's how Yondu dies. So,
dude, come on now.
What? We're already spoiling it. I'm assuming that anybody who's listening to this has seen.
No, I know, but I wanted to get to that part and say it.
Sorry.
Either way, like, I was just surprised about like wow, I was not expecting it because everything's been relatively pretty light to this point.
Yeah. Did you also notice that guy that they focus on ejecting? He was in Alien vs Predator.
Oh, you're right.
He's the guy with like all the scars.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice point. But yeah, well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because, I mean, almost from the beginning of the first one, like when Ronan comes and smashes that guy's head with his hammer, I'm like, I already thought, wow, that's kind of dark. But to each his own. And then it's more of Taserface like saying, like, I'm the new captain now, and blah, blah, Yondu, this is all your fault. And then Rocket starts making fun of him because of his name. Yeah. And then Nebula says that, okay, I brought you these people, you give me a share of the bounty, and I need a ship and whatnot. And then she takes the ship. And then she tracks down everybody. She tracks down Gamora to Ego's planet. And then, oh my goodness, like the fight between her and Gamora was ridiculous. Yeah. Because she's basically, like, you can tell already, like, Nebula is like, she has a blood vengeance for Gamora. And she's just screaming the whole time as she's like driving the ship at Gamora, shooting at her. And okay, that's one. And then she comes in for another strike. That's another one. And then she just drives the ship into a cave. And you know the ship's not going to fit in the cave, but Nebula gives no like F's about it, so she rams the ship into the cave, and Gamora is still trying to run away from it, and Nebula's still firing the ship. And then so the further they go into the cave goes over a ledge, and Nebula's stuck in it. And then Gamora finds one of the guns gets detached. And then again, it shows how strong Gamora is. She freaking picks up the gun. She goes full on Iron Man proton cannon. And that's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw it. She activates the gun and she starts shooting at the ship. Now, I don't know how well of a job I did describing that, but like the gun itself is about like...
It's taller than her, for sure.
Maybe 3 times the size of Gamora. And then so she picks it up and she starts like shooting it from the shoulder, and then she shoots the ship down another level. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And then you see the ship's about to explode, and Gamora's like, oh my god. Because Nebula's stuck. And then Gamora can't leave Nebula to die, so she helps Nebula out. And then Nebula starts trying to kill Gamora, and I love Gamora's reaction, like, are you kidding me? And finally to the point where, like, you think Nebula is about to kill Gamora, and she doesn't do it. She's like, I finally bested you. That's all I ever wanted. And then you see more about why Nebula has been so, I guess, vengeful against Gamora throughout both movies. And you find out that as children, Gamora and Nebula had to have sparring matches between each other. And whoever lost, Thanos would punish them. And Gamora always won. So as a result, Thanos would, each time Nebula lost, he would take a part of her body and replace it with a machine. And then you're like, holy crap. That is the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
That's super messed up. And then you realize, like, that's why Nebula can do all the things with her body. Yeah. Because I don't think she has any more, like, regular parts besides, like, probably internal organs. And then, so, it kind of goes on more from there. Back to the Ravagers. Yondu and Rocket are trapped in the same cell, but they're like, you know what? You and I, we're not too different, but let's cut the chummy talk. Let's find a way out of here. So they ask, Groot's like walking by because the Ravagers decided they're not going to kill Groot. They're going to keep him as a pet.
Because he's too adorable to kill.
I'm like, that's honestly a perfectly good reason.
Yeah.
So they're walking by, and then Yondu is like, hey, come here. You want to help us? You want to help us escape? And Groot's like, yeah. And then he tells him like what he needs in order to help him out. So he tells Groot that he needs to find this red fin, which was a prototype of Yondu's back in the day. And it'll function the same way to help him control his arrow again. So Groot does it, and then they forget that he's basically still a baby at this point, so he can't really understand them too well.
Right.
Like, he's kind of smart, but at the same time, he's also really dumb at the same time. So he keeps bringing these things which have nothing to do with the escape. Yeah. And then he just progressively gets more ridiculous.
And it goes on for a really long time.
Yeah, at first, like, this is too long.
Yeah, a little too long.
But then, like, every time he brings back something, I still have to laugh at
I know, yeah.
And then, like, he brings a desk, and then he brings either a toe or a finger. I think it was a toe, and it was like...
a very cleanly severed toe.
Yeah, and I was like, what did he do? And then, I love this line, Rocket's like, please tell me that you have an icebox full of severed toes somewhere. And Yondu's like, nope. And Rocket's like, let's never speak of this again. So finally, Groot finds the thing he finds the drawer where Yondu's fin is. He opens it, and you're like, is he gonna get it? He picks up the wrong thing, and the whole time I'm like, oh, Groot. And then, I don't remember his name.
I have no idea what his name is.
But Yondu's second command, he's like, that's not the right thing. And it turns out he comes and he helps them escape because he never meant to do that. He just wanted to speak up and felt like he was treated unfairly. He didn't want people to die because all of his friends died. So that's why he's going to help Yondu. And Yondu's like, okay, I accept your help. And he tells him to get ready. And Rocket puts the fin on Yondu, and he also says, hey, you have any more Quill's old songs? And of course, gotta go for a musical number. So they put on the music throughout the ship on the radios, the ship's intercom system.
Right. And
then they're like, oh my god, Yondu has the fin. So they send 2 Ravagers to go see. And you see Yondu has this big old mohawk fin on his head, which is actually reminiscent of his original design.
Right.
And then this goes onto a whole sequence of like just badassery. Because you see how Yondu like uses his arrow, and it's just so cool. And I think it was just fun because like we've been seeing them get beat up and like messed up with all these Ravagers. It's fine. It's nice to see like the shoe on the other foot. And then so you see like Yondu like kill so many. Oh my! He killed so many people with that thing, and it was so satisfying to see everybody die just because all of them were dicks to each other.
Yeah, one of my favorite shots in the movie is the arrows flying through this corridor, and it takes out all the lights, and then it goes and hits all the people, and as it hits each one, it like lights up. Yeah, and so you see them like fall. It was really
cool.
Then
eventually, they're going through a walkway. Groot sees like one of the people that was bullying him. He goes up and he scares the guy. He throws him, which we saw in the trailer, but it was just nice to see. Yeah. And then finally, Yondu, Groot, and Rocket, they make it to like the central, I guess, computer system or security system, so they can see on camera everybody who's anywhere. And through the cameras, Yondu uses the arrow and he just finds everybody.
Yeah.
And Rocket starts shooting through the walls so that nobody can come at them. And it was just such a badass cool scene. And I just loved that sequence. And then finally Yondu sees Taserface. And then so I didn't know he could do it. He lights his arrow on fire.
Oh yeah.
And then he quote unquote misses Taserface. He's like, "Ha, you missed." And then he turns around and like this huge explosion comes out. And basically Yondu like, exploded half of his ship just to kill Taserface. But then so the ship comes apart and Yondu and everybody else goes on. And Taserface, he somehow survives. And I have to say, to his credit, he like took it like a champ.
Yeah.
The guy was scarred, he was burned, but he just like kind of like brushed off the fire. He activates the console, he alerts the Sovereign, and he gives him the coordinates to Yondu. And then when they tell him like his name, like they start laughing at him. And that's when I felt bad for Taserface. I'm like, oh, this poor guy.
Yeah.
And then so they find out that, Peter and everybody else have gone to Ego, and Yondu was like, yeah, that's not a good thing. We have to go to them. So they decided to do in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, the way they do like light speed travel or not interdimension, like basically light speed travel or travel to other planets is through these things called jumps.
Yeah, which I don't feel.
Did they mention it in the first one?
I don't think so, and I feel like they didn't really do a good job of explaining it in this movie. Like it's kind of self-explanatory, but also kind of not really. I mean, like, my understanding was that, like, each quadrant of space or whatever has its own, like, jump.
Yeah, so that's why I thought, like, the hexagon portal was for.
Yeah.
But then I thought maybe the ships can just summon them the same way that you can go into hyperdrive. Either way, it was interesting because at least they tell you, like, how many jumps it takes to get to this planet.
Right.
And then Rocket's like, yeah, we're gonna go into jump, and I love Yondu's reaction. Like, what are you talking about, boy? You can't do that. It's like the average, like
it's harmful to the body to do more than 50 jumps at a time.
Yeah, like Ego's Planet is like seven. He's like Ego's Planet is like 700, and then so this was one of my favorite parts of the movie. How everybody reacts to the jumps. Because you see, it's basically like if you ever see in cartoons, whenever somebody goes into a wormhole or like a black hole, like their body starts like shifting and changing. And it was so funny because when they're doing the jumps, everybody gets like their face gets like changed and shifted and stretched out. And you know what? In context, it doesn't sound funny, but when you see everybody screaming and all the lights and everything, it's so funny. And they keep jumping between worlds, and you kind of get a grasp of how much they've been traveling because you see through the stars, like how they keep kind of zigzagging through everything. Yeah,
and the only thing I could think during that sequence was like, man, if you were on acid, this would be really upsetting.
I feel like maybe people at Marvel have been doing acid a lot because, like, look at Doctor Strange. Right. Look at this now. I mean, they like jump past Stan Lee talking to the Watchers. Yeah. Which I thought, wow, okay. Wow. And then so going back to Ego, Ego reveals to him like what the purpose was, and he shows him the expansion, which tells more or less. It basically told him like what his plan was for life because he found life so disappointing. So he thought that in order to give things purpose, he needs to take over other planets. So he took a part of himself and planted them into thousands of other planets, so that he could essentially terraform planets to become like the planet itself. Right. So his consciousness would go to all these other planets.
Do you know what this reminded me of? It was the Futurama movie, The Beast with a Billion Backs, where there's this. Just real quick summary. There's this creature. I don't know what to call it.
I forgot.
But it's like comes out of this wormhole, and it's like all these tentacles, and basically it plugs itself into your butt, and then you fall in love with it. Yeah. Would that be accurate?
No, that's basically how it is. Like, you treat it as a significant other.
Yeah, it was really weird. But basically, it infects the entire galaxy or universe or whatever. Yeah. And like they've all become one hive mind.
Yeah. So Ego said that this job is too much even for a Celestial. But for two Celestials, they might have enough power to activate it. Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have unlimited power.
Yeah, surprisingly. For God.
Little G.
Yeah. So then he says that in order to find more, he essentially told him he had children with thousands of other beings, probably millions of other beings. And then he said, the only person that ever came close to having my genetics was you. You carried a celestial gene. And then you find out from what Mantis and what Yondu tells Rocket that, and what Gamora and Nebula find in this cavern is that you find these skeletons of thousands of beings. And you find out that Ego killed his children when he discovered them. And as such, that's the reason why Yondu didn't give Peter to Ego, because he gave him the reason he was small, he could fit into places we couldn't, he was good for thieving. But ultimately, he couldn't on his conscience know that, he couldn't let his conscience live, knowing that he gave all these children away to die, essentially.
Which he conveniently finds out after he kidnaps Peter, but before he delivers him, that Ego is killing all the kids.
Yeah, and I have to say, this movie took a lot more dark turns than I was expecting, because he killed all of his children.
Right. Well, not on purpose.
Yes, he did.
Well, no. I mean, my interpretation was that, you know how he hooks Peter with this light thing? My interpretation was that he did that, and then because they didn't have the celestial gene, that killed them.
Well, maybe. But what's really messed up is when he's telling him more about it, he told him,
oh, yeah,
I loved your mother so much. I came back to Earth a couple more times, but I knew, if I came back one more time, I would not fulfill my destiny. And he told, oh my gosh, he told Peter, that's why I put that tumor in her brain. And oh my gosh, if I could tell you guys the gasp in that audience, it was just ridiculous, because that was how could you do that? But you know, he says, we're gods, we're not mortals. Mm-hmm. Which actually, I do like that dialogue they touched upon, but...
Yeah, do you feel that his feelings for Meredith were genuine?
I feel like that they were, to an extent. I feel like he actually felt the feeling that humanity felt. But he was so caught up in his own thing that he kind of pushed it aside. He was able to push it aside.
I don't know. I feel like if he cared for her that much, then he could have taken her back to his planet with her.
I feel like he cared for her, but he didn't care for her.
I feel like he cared, but I don't know if he, loved her in the sense that he was trying to convince Peter that he did. Maybe that's
probably probably right. But either way, Peter, he snaps out of his hallucination, and he just goes to town and he just blasts his dad, which I thought that was so satisfying. But then you realize it doesn't do anything because he is the planet itself,
right?
So he brings out all these energy tentacles. There's a lot of tentacles in this movie. And he starts attacking Peter, and then the other Guardians come and try to help him out, and they're doing it, and then things seem worse. But then Yondu and oh god, I forgot about this. They're still going through the jumps, and finally they make it to Ego, and then they land into basically the citadel of Ego's building.
Yeah, and
they save him, and they try to escape, but it doesn't work out. So they realize we can't do this because Ego he's activated the seeds on the other planets. Mm-hmm. So they begin to take root and to begin to encompass all the other planets. And then so Ego, they incapacitate Ego's humanoid form, and then they go down into the core.
Oh, you forgot to mention the part where he turns into David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah, he's shifting this is I tried to see what form that I would take to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that.
It's just weird to think that David Hasselhoff is part of the MCU now.
Yeah, everything's part of the MCU now at this point.
Right.
So then, they dive further into the core of Ego, and then they find this planet. They find the core of Ego where his brain is, and they say, Peter tells them, in order to defeat Ego, you have to blow that up. So they're trying to do that, and then, of course, the Sovereign come up to mess up everything. And then, so now, in addition to having to destroy Ego's brain, they have to fight the Sovereign at the same time. And then, so the other Guardians go and try to distract the Sovereign and defeat them. And Rocket he makes a bomb out of the batteries that he stole from the Sovereign's batteries, and he tries to make this bomb that's just going to be strong enough to destroy Ego's brain. And from then on, it's just a really cool compilation of them destroying the ships and fighting against Ego at the same time. Mm-hmm. And Mantis puts Ego to sleep, which is one of her powers.
Oh yeah. But when that happened, I was thinking about the part in Age of Ultron where Hulk and Hulkbuster are fighting. Yeah. And Tony's like, go sleep, go sleep, go sleep, go sleep.
That's true. I didn't think about that. so she's only able to hold it for a limited amount of time, but she's able to like stop Ego so they can concentrate on finding his core and also finding the Sovereign. And then so the final opening into Ego's core, but none of them are big enough to get to it, and they look at Groot, and Rocket doesn't want to do it because Groot's gonna mess up, but they decide to go with the plan. And in order to defeat all the rest of the Sovereign, Yondu and Nebula, they hook up Nebula's power into they hook up part of the ship into Nebula, and then they bring out all of these like laser turrets or whatever, these laser balls around the ship. So when they activate it, like they destroy all the Sovereign in basically one hit. And basically made me realize the Sovereign were a bunch of chumps. They really had no like real antagonistic value to the movie. I mean, they were fine to blow up and fight, but aside from that,
yeah, I mean, like I kind of got tired of them. Yeah, like at this part of the movie, like the beginning was great. Like I liked that part, like as the inciting incident. And then the second time I was like, okay, like I get it. And then the third time I was like, okay, come on, really, do we really need these people? And like when we get to the end credit sequence, which we'll cover in a little bit, like I understand why they kept bringing them up, why they were important, but I was like, I'm kind of tired of them.
But I mean, they were nice to at least like beat up, just because you really didn't care about
cannon fodder.
Yeah. And then what happens? Oh yeah, so that the ship blows up and Gamora's like, no, Quill, because he was on it. But then you see Nebula, like she comes out safely, and Quill, he flies out, and Yondu comes out perfectly fine, and he's holding his arrow. And Peter was like, you're just like Mary Poppins. Oh, yeah. And Yondu's like, who's that? Is he cool? And Quill's like, yeah, he's cool. And I love this line. Yondu comes out like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. So good. So they're like, okay, now what? Just gotta wait until Groot gets to it. And then a piece of the ship or something hits Mantis in the head. Yeah. And knocks her out. And then Ego wakes up again. So they try to run away from Ego to get to the ship to extract them, but Ego keeps attacking them. And everything looks like it's not gonna work anymore. As much as they try to fight, Ego is just too strong. And eventually Peter, he uses the celestial power to fight Ego. And I have to say, that was a pretty cool matchup. I felt like it gave Star-Lord a little bit too much of a superhero aspect to it, but it was still really fun to see. And the whole time you're just kind of wondering, are they going to make it? And you feel like they are going to make it. Everything's going to be fine because it's a Guardians movie and Marvel never kills anybody. But there is a little bit of tension throughout this whole sequence about, are they going to be able to succeed in stopping Ego? And when Groot's able to fight back, when Peter's able to fight back, Groot's able to finally find the brain and attach the bomb where he initiates the countdown. And then so the whole time is them trying to find other ways to get to the ship without sacrificing anybody else. One of the parts of the fight I really like between Star-Lord and Ego was when Ego creates basically he forms the rocks around him to create a body. Yeah. And then Peter does the same thing. Or you think, and then when the camera zooms out, it's a giant Pac-Man.
That was probably my biggest laugh of the movie.
I choked on my Sour Patch Kid when I saw that. I was like, oh my god. Because he talked about making a giant Pac-Man because he's able to control the planet and the matter and everything on it. So when he makes it, you see he's able to eat Ego. And then they both their constructs get destroyed, but then that was so funny. And then Ego, he finds out he's been matched, so Peter just keeps wailing on him and says, Peter, you have to stop, you have to realize that you can't be like everybody else. And Peter says, what's wrong with that? Yeah. And then the bomb finally goes off. It destroys Ego, but as a result, everything begins to crumble around. And then Peter has no way of getting back to the ship because his gear has been destroyed. And you see Yondu comes and he saves him. And at this point, the ship has already departed because everybody's been on and the countdown was initiated, so they couldn't stay on the planet without risking everybody. And so Yondu, like Alex said, they go up further into space, and Yondu gives Peter the spacesuit while he goes up. And he sacrifices himself to save Peter. And in the end, he tells Peter, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. And you're like, fudge nuggets. Like, it should not be this emotional, but it is. And you think, it's okay, the ship is going to find them. They're going to do the same thing they did in the first Guardians. Yeah. Somebody's going to save them. And I'm just waiting for that to happen. And no, like, Yondu really gives up his life to save Peter.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy crap, they just did that. So they hold a funeral service for Yondu. They talk about, like, what he did and how he was a butt and everything. And how he, like...
But he was David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, he was in his way... David Hasselhoff really was my dad. And I was like, I shouldn't be laughing right now, but I am. And then so they essentially cremate Yondu's body into like these star particles or whatever. And it gets ejected out. And then, you know, just like some more butting up with everybody. Like, oh, okay, it's a kind of feel-good moment, but it's still sad. And then they look outside the window and they see all the Ravager clans come out to honor Yondu. And so in the end, Yondu had redeemed himself for his actions, and they acknowledged that, you know, you're one of us still. And yeah, and like
that was the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it was like, I was really surprised that they would end it on such a downer note.
Yeah. And then after that comes the 5 post-credit scenes. Yeah. So the first one is Yondu's second command. He's wearing Yondu's fin, and he has his arrow because Yondu's arrow gets destroyed in the fight with Ego, so Rocket puts it back together. He's trying to control it, and then he's like playing around with it, and then he hits Drax, and Drax is like screaming because of it. It's like, oh crap. Then the second one was what was the second one?
Was that the one where Sylvester Stallone gets the other Ravager captains together?
Is it?
I thought it.
Maybe it was, but he brings an old crew. And I looked it up and like, this is actually like a team that existed before the Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's a genuine like team, actually.
Yeah. I was kind of confused about that one because it kind of seemed like they were like setting up for another spin-off movie almost.
Yeah. Did you notice that one of them had like the Doctor Strange like magic?
Oh no.
Yeah, like one of them does. I'm like, holy crap, that's cool. And then one of them involved teenage Groot.
Yeah.
Groot's like growing, and like Star-Lord comes into the room, is like, what is this? This is a mess. Clean up your twigs, and leaves. And then you see a teenage Groot playing, and it's like, I'm Groot. And it's like kind of mocking him. Yeah. And I was like, this shouldn't be funny because it's such a simple premise, but it's funny seeing how Groot's like he doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Then the next one was Stan Lee and the Watchers. The Watchers leave from him, and it's like, oh, come on, guys, one of you supposed to be my ride. And then the last one was with Aisha. Yeah. And they talk about how the council, she's been summoned by the council to explain her actions. Right. And then she talks about she's made this final weapon to finally destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy, and she decides to name it Adam. Right. Which was basically Adam Warlock.
Yeah, that was my interpretation anyway. Yeah. And this one I was very pleased to see, I guess, because so this is going to be potential spoilers.
I think now we can just like talk about more about spoilers. Yeah, that was the premise of the movie. All the cutscenes.
That was more than a premise.
You know, it was the summary of the movie. Yeah, the recap of the movie. Now we can talk about the other things.
Yeah. So in the original Infinity War story arc, Adam Warlock steals the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos and like tries to take over the universe. So I kind of figured that they were going to do the same thing in the movie. And so I was curious to see how they were going to introduce him as a character before then. And, you know, now they kind of sort of have a little tiny bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that idea fleshed out in Thor Ragnarok. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, like if we just find out about him in Infinity War. But like I've been saying for a while now, like there's going to be so many characters in that movie that they're going to have I feel like they're going to have so little time to develop new characters and like set up for the plot and everything while still giving adequate screen time to all of these big A-list stars. So it's just going to be very difficult for them to balance all of that. So... But yeah, we definitely have Adam Warlock in the mix now, so that's
gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
So What didn't you like about this movie?
Well, I was sad when Yondu died.
Me too.
But I don't know, like it was also very moving.
Yeah.
So I couldn't, I did not like it. Like
you just hated that it happened.
Yeah.
That was the same.
Like right after he gets his redemption is when he dies. So.
And I thought that first off, the first thing I thought like, oh my god, they pulled The Walking Dead because like his character kind of does the same thing.
Spoilers.
Yeah, and because I really really liked Yondu. Just because like he's like I said, he's a very like aggressive character. He's not a great person by any means, but he's still cool, and I really liked Yondu. But I like that they took that risk. They actually killed somebody off because Marvel always says, you never kill anybody off to make this happen or make this happen. But they took that chance with Yondu, and I think it was a good move.
Yeah.
Like we said, we didn't really like the Sovereign too much.
Yeah.
We get why they were in there, but I feel like they could have had a better job with that.
Yeah. Some of the jokes I feel like just went on for a little bit too long at some parts, like part with little Groot getting the stuff for Yondu, or the part where they're making fun of Taserface, or what was another one? I don't know, like when Drax was saying how unattractive he found Mantis. Like those were all funny up to a point, and then I was like, okay, this is like going on for too long. It's almost like Family Guy does that sometimes, where they'll
I know what you mean exactly.
Take a joke and just stretch it out for so long, and like I feel like comedy is best in general. Comedy is best when it's just like quick and punchy,
or just it hits the time right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. I agree with that too. What else was it?
I don't know. Those are like my main complaints. Really.
Yeah, everything else
they're not really big complaints.
Everything else I really liked. Like I loved all the actors did great. Like they did a fantastic job acting with each other and being in character, even those that didn't have that big of a role. Oh, so this one isn't really a complaint. It's a compliment and a complaint at the same time. I felt like this movie did build up the world aspect. Like it helped to create more of like what Guardians is, but at the same time it didn't, because in the other one we got to visit other planets and see other things of it. This one we don't really get to see too much of that. We mainly stay on Ego's planet and stay in space. So it both expanded like how worlds are created in the Guardians universe, but at the same time I felt like it was much more limited in this movie. Yeah. If that makes sense. But yeah, everything, like we said, everything was great. Music was fantastic. I think Kurt Russell did a great job as Ego. Like I really, really liked him. Like I don't think he's my favorite Marvel villain by any means, but I liked like the character that he was, and I liked how they introduced him. Yeah, like he comes up as very friendly, nice, like very caring guy who wants to be Peter's dad, and then you see a much more darker side to him.
Yeah, I mean, like that's not really an original storyline.
It wasn't, but I like how they approached it though.
Yeah, that was another thing I was going to say is that because of this podcast is the reason that I knew Ego was a bad guy. If we hadn't been, looking for this news, reporting on how Kurt Russell's cast as Ego and Ego is the living planet and Ego is a bad guy in the comic books, I would never have known any of that, and I would have been surprised to find out that he was trying to, take over or reshape the universe in his image and all that. So that was kind of lame, but it can't be helped. Right. And it's not like this is the first time that I've watched a comic book movie and my knowledge of comic books has ruined it. So
you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. So I thought one thing I was thinking about this movie, that I thought Groot was gonna get big again.
I did too, yeah.
Because I don't know if you ever seen there was an episode in Ultimate Spider-Man, I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man, when he meets the Guardians, and there's one part where like he's wondering why everybody's carrying this pot with a stick in it that talks. And then it gets a part in probably later in the episode where they tell him to throw the pot because they need Groot's help, and it's like, what? And it says, just do it. So he throws the pot, and Groot automatically, like, he just like blows up. Not literally blows, but he grows really big to like full size Groot, and it just like whams on people. So I was kind of waiting for them to do that. it didn't happen. I mean, it's cool. I still liked Baby Groot a lot.
Yeah.
I just,
Oh no, he was adorable.
He was ridiculously adorable. I hated how much I loved Baby Groot because whenever I saw, especially like in the end, where like he's like sleeping on everybody, it's like, oh my god, that's like the most cutest thing of all time. Yeah. I know that's not grammatically correct because I put most in cutest, but that's how cute he is.
I don't know. I think my favorite part of Groot was in the very, very beginning, just the part where he's like trying to put the wires together and he keeps missing and it's like, and he finally does it. And like the dancing's cute, but just the part where he's trying to
because like this little thing is like, it's Groot. How can you not like Groot? What else in this movie? Yeah, like overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Like we said, there were flaws to the movie, which I think could have been, built on better. But design was great, sound was great, cinematography was really good, acting was great, and you like what you said. It's very much its own movie. There are things that could lead up to a new one, but it stayed within its own frame. It didn't build up to a new thing. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. Oh, we forgot to mention that Howard the Duck was in the movie again.
Howard the Duck was in there.
Not important, but
he was in the whorehouse. Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, so like this movie's good. Like I said, probably an 8 out of 10. Plus or minus, like half a point depending on my mood. But I feel like I've been spoiled by the MCU with the Avengers movies because they're so grand in scale and everything else just seems by comparison so
smaller.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't match up to that.
Yeah, and like the Avengers movies are like the culmination of the events of all of the other movies as well, and these movies just seem so, it's like just stopping points along the way to the next huge battle. Like, each movie has its own climactic battle, which is, huge and important and everything, but it's just, a little pit stop on the road to this fight against Thanos, which is, it's a good thing. Like, I like the whole cinematic universe thing, but that's maybe the downside is that now everything seems not as meaningful because we know where it's going.
Okay, well, see, now if you really want to get like deep and philosophical about this, maybe this is the perspective that you get when you play God, because now you know what's going to happen. So you can't really, speaking from the view of ego.
Very true.
Like, is anything like random?
He probably didn't know he was going to die.
Probably not, so yeah.
Yeah, he's not omnipotent. He just has control over matter, which is more than I can say.
Yeah. But I'm glad you enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie too. And like I said, I'm glad I had no idea what this plot was about.
Yeah.
Which I think I had to give for the trailers. Like, even though we're saying we don't know what this movie's about, I think it's a good thing because we got the surprises, we got the twists, we got the turns.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent. Like, we knew that his dad was going to be in it.
Yeah.
And because we knew that Ego is a bad guy, it was a pretty easy logical leap that they were going to meet him and then he was going to, turn out to be evil.
I wasn't expecting that he killed all those children, though.
That's true.
I wasn't expecting that Yondu was gonna die.
That's definitely true.
I wasn't expecting that Nebula was like forced to get all those enhancements.
True.
Oh, I actually do I really like that they gave Nebula a lot more personality.
Yeah, for sure.
And the interaction between her and Gamora were really, really good. I really liked them. I felt like Drax sometimes was a little bit drawn out too much, but whenever he said something, I still had to snicker.
Yeah, no, he definitely had some really funny lines,
especially with the nipple thing.
Yeah,
and when they give him the last jetpack, and it's like, you gotta get her back to the ship. Yeah. And when they activate, he's like, my nipples! So he flies away. I'm glad this movie was fun.
Well, that was our review of GOTG V2.
I am Groot.
And we've been going for a really long time now.
Hey, you said we said in the beginning of this podcast. You said this is gonna be a shorter one.
Yeah, I made a liar out of myself.
How long are we at this point?
Over 3 hours.
Hey, what do you know?
Okay, well, a certain listener told me to expect an email later today, but it seems that said promise was not fulfilled. So, fortunately, we don't have any emails this week, but that's fine, because we should probably hurry up and get out of here. So that brings us to our Fan Fic Fights segment. So this week we are going to have a first ever for Fan Fic Fights. It's going to be a 2-on-2 battle.
Okay.
So our combatants this week are partners in crime, thick as thieves, one little guy, one big powerful guy.
Okay.
So we're going to have Rocket Raccoon and Groot versus Han Solo and Chewbacca.
Very nice. Very nice. So, do you have a preference that you want to take? Because I can do either one.
Yeah, I could do either one too.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I'm going to go with Groot and Raccoon.
Okay.
I mean, Groot and Rocket. He's not a raccoon. He's a rat. He's a fox.
He's a trash panda.
He's a triangle-faced rat. I felt bad for him because he started touching his face.
Yeah.
When he said Okay, so I went first last time. You go first.
Okay. So Captain Han Solo is the owner and pilot of the Millennium Falcon, and he is a smuggler by trade.
He's also a nerf herder too.
Yes, a scruffy looking nerf herder. He can be found in the galactic underworld, the most wretched hive of scum and villainy anywhere throughout the galaxy. He always has a handy blaster by his side, but perhaps even more importantly is he has his trusty co-pilot Chewbacca, who is a Wookiee. Chewbacca is big, super strong, very furry, and he has his handy-dandy bowcaster, which can blow a hole in pretty much anything, which will definitely come in handy for this fight. So Han and Chewie would win in this fight for a few reasons. For one thing is Rocket is tiny. And yes, he's very smart, he's very ferocious, he's very cunning, but at the end of the day, he's still small in stature, which makes him a prime target for kicking and whatnot. So, he's going to have to avoid some legs, and I think that Han Solo would be good at kicking, just as good as he is at blasting. As far as Chewie versus Groot, I mean, Groot is breakable, and sure, he can grow his arms back and stuff, but that takes time. If Chewbacca can rip his arms out of his sockets, as he has shown he has a propensity to do, at least in the Force Awakens deleted scenes, he's going to have an advantage over Groot. Now, I'm assuming we're talking about full adult Groot here, not toddler Groot. So yeah, there's that. Han Solo is a very he's not the most intelligent fighter, but he fights on his instinct, and his instinct gets him pretty far, as it does with his flying. So while Rocket might have his gadgets and stuff, Han just flies by the seat of his pants and gets him out of tight corners all the time. He also has the better ship, hands down. There's really no argument there. And then last but not least, the most important reason why they would win is Han always shoots first. So they've got it in the bag.
So that is actually a pretty good, compelling argument, I'm not going to lie. And it was hard to choose either one because they're just so good. But I think at the end of the day, Rocket and Groot definitely come out on top. Because, first off, you're right in that Rocket is much more smaller, so there's already a size difference. But I think he would come out on top of this because, as shown in the movies, he is able to even take on people bigger than him. And you're right, they could kick him. They could probably shove him around like that. But have you ever fought a raccoon?
I can't say that I have.
I think it's going to take a lot more than just kicking the raccoon to defeat it. Now, trying to fight a raccoon who's anthropomorphic, biologically enhanced. But I think he's also bionically enhanced too. He can also wield giant guns, has a propensity for explosives and rockets. I think it's a little bit more of a challenge. And I definitely see Rocket just climbing on top of Han and just kind of punching him in the face and pulling his hair. And yeah, you're right. You know what? That wouldn't win the fight, but that would definitely give him an edge in the fight. And also add to the fact that you're right. Han does shoot first, but he doesn't always hit his target. Given to the small size of Rocket, I think that he could give off like this big flurry, like big, like barrage of just fire to give him cover. Still, like, would not hit Rocket. Like, no. Now, I say like that gives him pretty even terms. Like, of all things, Groot and Chewbacca. You know, that was a little tough. You're right. Groot is breakable, but I think you underestimate how hard wood can get sometimes. And you're right. Chewbacca is super strong. He pulled out that guy's arm. He does it multiple times. But Groot is also super strong too. He's not just a piece of wood where you kind of take it and you kind of like break. So it's not like balsa wood. You can't just do that with him because Groot is gonna fight back. And on top of that, he can like grow vines and different things to like help him out. And against Wookiee's bowcaster, it will be pretty tough. And I don't think Groot could like take out full on, but he's able to grow his appendages into like these giant shield things. If you remember from when they were in the kiln in the first one, he actually like makes shields out of his arm to block from like the fire, but from the gunfire. And Groot can grow in size. He can, like I said, create vines to help him out with that. He can also control plants and trees around him to help him out, and he can control those too. So I think already on top of that, he gives him a pretty good edge on Chewbacca. Now, the thing with this is that I feel like in terms of combat, Groot and Rocket are much more better at that. And I think they're much more better at adapting and fighting as a unit than Chewie and Han, because Chewie and Han are really good at fighting together. If you see from movies, like they always know how to take point and how to like cover each other. But Groot knows how to like just like he can get on. I mean, Rocket can get on Groot, and Groot acts as like the mount and the heavy firepower. Well, not really heavy. He gives on the heavy firepower. Rocket gives off the assisting firepower too, and it just already makes like a giant powerhouse at that point. Where like at this point, I honestly think that you wouldn't stand a chance. But I think what really wins this match is just Groot himself. Because how could you hate Groot? How could you fight Groot? And if he ever just says, "We are Groot," it kind of like melts your heart like that. So I think Groot and Rocket win at the end of the day with this one. In terms of ship piloting, I have to give it over to you. The Millennium Falcon, like, it gets damaged, but it never gets blown up. The Milano gets blown up, like, freaking all the time. So, yeah.
Okay. One other thing I forgot to say is that the home planet of the Wookiee people, Kashyyyk, is almost entirely inhabited by giant trees, and the Wookiees have made their homes out of giant tree houses, basically. Mm-hmm. So they are the masters of all things tree-based. So obviously Chewbacca would know how to like
handle a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But they respect the trees, though.
Yeah, but they also subjugate them.
They respect the forest.
Brandon, I respect cows, but I eat them too.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Look it up. It might not be canon, but I think it's in Legends where the Wookiees, they either revere trees or they worship trees. Look it up.
If you revered something, would you make your house out of it? Because I wouldn't.
I mean, just look it up.
All right, I'll see. Anyway, that is our arguments. So please let us know if you love Marvel or Star Wars better by letting.
Don't do that. Don't make them decide that. That's like if you were a kid in a divorce. It's like, who do you love better, your mom or your dad? No, don't do that to them.
I'm just kidding. But let us know.
That got dark really fast. I'm so sorry.
Let us know who you think would win in this fight. So you can send us an email to abcpodcast92@gmail.com. So real quick before we wrap up, one last thing is it's my turn to pick a new movie for us to all watch and talk about. And so this time I'm going to pick a movie that I've seen before and really, really love. Yeah. And it's actually a movie we mentioned early in the podcast, Memento.
Okay.
So I believe this is Christopher Nolan's directorial debut. I won't say anything about the plot, but just know that it plays with time and your perspective of time in a very interesting, slightly confusing way, but I promise it'll all make sense in the end. This movie is on Netflix, so
thank you.
You're covered there. I believe it is rated R for restricted by the motion picture, the MPAA, which I know I've corrected before, and now I totally forget what it stands for. Okay, yeah, so this movie is rated R for violence, language, and some drug content. So be warned that the movie does contain those aspects. However, it's an awesome movie, so be prepared to talk about that in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at AtariAlex. You can find Brandon on Twitter by going into my bio and looking for his username, which is in there. While you're there, you can also find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages, and you can subscribe to both so that you never miss an episode. We'd also really love it if you could leave us an iTunes review and let us know how we're doing so that we can find out how to improve the show, other than telling us that the show goes too long, because there's nothing we can really do about it. We just get so passionate about these topics, we get carried away. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's the end of our show. So. Okay, well, thank you all very much for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.